Into the midday show, I'm Ray Dunn, in for the next 4 hours with you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Sean Rodman producing the program today. We'll be joined by Jeff Mosher coming up at 1:25, talking some Birds ahead of roster cutdown day. We'll react as much as we can to a third preseason game, some of the moves they made. But, of course, it is a big week for your Fightin' Phils 3 against the Mets. Starting tonight up at Citi Field, and I will get out ahead of this one since Connor Thomas already told you today on Kincade and Salciunas. I'm going up there on Wednesday night. It has not been a good record for me up at Citi Field. I am not thrilled about the fact that I'm going to have to see McLean versus Walker, but I'm hoping they have the series in hand by then. I'm hoping that that's just the gravy game. That's what I'm hoping for in this series. But I want to ask you the question to begin today's show, and you get in with us at 610-632-0975. Do you still respect this Mets team as contenders? Because so much of the LOL Mets and so much of the number of people I see on social media just laughing at the demise that they have had, and don't get me wrong, I have enjoyed it too. You have to be a fraud, I think, if you haven't enjoyed a little bit of what the Mets struggle has been. But I said to you last week, I haven't been able to fully go in on the Mets' misery just because it is only August, just because last season they were the team that eliminated the Philadelphia Phillies in the postseason, where I haven't been able to fully just enjoy the misery because they're still sitting there in a postseason spot. There's still the chance that you could see them depending on how things play out in the postseason. And I remember at the trade deadline, I was one of the people that was like, wow, look what they did to their bullpen. They went in, they tried to make things work with that bullpen. They tried to improve themselves. I didn't love their pickup of Cedric Mullins. I'm not a big Cedric Mullins guy, so it really didn't bother me how they addressed their lineup. But I respected what they did in terms of trying to bolster their bullpen, and so far it has not paid dividends. Helsley's thing has been hilarious to me, and Gregory Soto blowing a game this weekend has been hilarious to me. But I'm curious for how many people out there actually still respect the Mets as contenders when you look at both the NL East, when you look at the National League, and the chance of facing them in the postseason. Because I still show them that respect. Now, I think you have a great opportunity with 3 games in front of you this week. You take 2 of 3, I'm going to have a hard time believing that this division's anything but wrapped. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. I had Kevin Cooney on here, I believe it was last Monday, and he was ready to call the division a wrap at that point. I was, whoa, slowly roll here. Let's see how things continue to play out. The Mets have continued to Mets. The Phillies have continued to win baseball games. They haven't had the great start to last week with the sweep of the Mariners. They take 2 of 3 this weekend from the Nationals. If they take 2 of 3 from the Mets, there's a good chance by Thursday. I'm sitting here, Amy Fadul will be in on Thursday, and I'm sitting here telling you, yeah, I feel like we're talking about seeding the rest of the way. They've got this division on lock. But I still respect the Mets and their ability to be contenders for a couple of reasons. I'll start with the top 4 of their lineup. We look at this Phillies lineup, and we talk about how you need the big names to bash, and that's pretty much what you need to have success in the postseason with this group. You need Schwarber, you need Harper, you need Turner, you likely need one of the Bohm, Castellanos, Realmuto going to give you that top 4 of a lineup that could truly compete for something. The Mets, the reason why I still respect them is I look at that top 4, and that top 4 can heat up. This is a team that while we've seen them struggle, they have as many 7-game winning streaks as they have 7-game losing streaks. They are the extreme of what we see in Philadelphia, where a team can turn on, turn off really quickly. But any top 4 in which you're talking about Alonso, Soto, Nimmo, and you're looking down at Lindor as that 4, that group can turn a game and turn a series really quickly. I am not going to discount any team that can roll out that top 4 at the top of your lineup. So that's the first reason why I still look at them as contenders. Secondly, they don't have a pitching staff on name that would terrify you. And we have seen their starting rotation start to regress back to who they are. But there is a little bit of me, and this could be a little bit of my PTSD of watching this team last season and watching the end of that last season, where they do match up pretty well with the Phillies. And I'm interested to see in this series specifically, Kodai Senga you get tonight, his career against the Phillies in the regular season, 12 1/3, 2 earned runs, 15 strikeouts. He has been good and effective against this Phillies lineup. And it's the type of pitcher that also just kind of the way he mystifies hitters. If this Phillies team continues to do what they do in terms of chasing, he could be a matchup problem for you. Sean Manaea has 2 starts against the Phillies, including last year in the postseason. Ever since he's found that new arm slot, he's not the Manaea you faced in 2022. He's a different pitcher. 14 innings, just 4 earned, and a dozen strikeouts against the Phillies in that time, his last 2 starts against them. What do you have in McLeod, the new guy that they brought up? Made just 2 starts in the major leagues. Wednesday night, we'll see him against the Phillies. And the great unknown of what Clay Holmes will be against this Phillies lineup. David Peterson, also someone that had given them troubles before. They've seemingly been able to get him. They got him when he was in Philadelphia. But there is a little bit of that to me where I kind of get uneasy with the pitching matchups against this Phillies lineup. And the final reason that I'm not going to count this Mets team out as contenders and still showing them this respect going into this series, Phillies have lost 8 of 9 in Citi Field dating back to last season. I was up there for one of the 3 that got swept early on this season. Obviously, there were the 2 last postseason and the series in September last year where the Phillies lose 3 of 4. That's the last time they had won in Citi Field. And this goes into a bigger question. I actually heard the morning show in the 9 o'clock hour kind of flirting with this question of like how much you put past experiences of fandom, how much you push past experiences of watching a team into what you're currently watching. Because there is a little bit of me that just kind of needs to see the Phillies show me something in New York this week where it's like, don't give them any life. Don't let the tables turn on you, and don't let what was a house of horrors where you saw your season end a year ago, where the beginning of this season you got swept in a series that really you looked lifeless in, that we all expected to be a revenge-type place for you back in April. I just kind of need to see them do it in New York. Just given the history of what happened last year, what happened at the beginning of this season, last year at the end of September, losing 8 of 9 in one place. It's not a house of horrors historically. It's not a place that has historically been terrible to you. But for this group to be able to mentally overcome what happened up there last year, what happened at the beginning of this season, we've seen them already in the last week overcome adversity and the way that they responded to the Zach Wheeler news, sweeping the Mariners, taking 2-3 from the Nationals. It's not a question of whether or not this group can do it, because I believe they are able to do it. But just to see them do it would give me a nice sense of calm and might start to put this team absolutely in the back burner. I understand, though, for some of you, and the logic in me really wants to say, hey, look at what the Mets have been since June 12th when they were 21 games over 500. Been 13 games under since that time, 24-37. Look at the logic there, Ray. Look, they just haven't been a good team. Just put them to bed. I can't, and I'm curious if you can at 610-632-0975. Do you still respect them as contenders, and how much does what happened last year impact your viewpoint on them? There is a little bit, to me, of this series of just putting to bed the horror of watching last year's NLDS by going up there and watching them put on a strong showing up at Citi Field, especially given the fact that you're going to get some solid pitching from the other side against you in this 3-game set. And you're able to put a stranglehold on this division if you could take 2 of 3 up there. And also, if you take 2 of 3 up here, that's 1 more win than you have in your last 9 games playing up there in Citi Field. A small sample size? Sure. But 2 rather important games in there and the beginning of this season inside of that sample size. So you're looking at very similar teams to that time. So I'm curious for you if you still respect them as contenders, and how much does last year impact your viewpoint on the New York Mets, because I can't get over it. I'm hoping this week puts me through it. We've talked a lot on this show before about the losses I can't get over, and I know everyone out there, I think as we got the news last week and we were looking at this era of Phillies baseball, everyone goes back to 2023 and what happened against the Diamondbacks. For me, last year, it doesn't stick in my head as much, but every time they faced the Mets this year, I can tell you it all just resurfaces of how annoying it was to watch that all play out, of the fact that the Mets end up getting past the Brewers, and you did all that all season long, won the NL East, something that we had talked about. Hey, you want to see them, does the division matter that much to you? What are you going to be able to do if you win the division? And see it all fall apart within 4 games against the Mets? Yeah, there's different names out there for the Mets, for sure. One certainly better in their right fielder. But I'd just like to see them put all that to bed in 3 games up there in Citi Field. I'm not asking for a sweep, but I'm asking for you to take 2 and 3, win 1 more game up in New York than you have over your last 9 up there, and help me put to bed what I still think about with last season. How much does that impact your viewpoint on this team, on this matchup, and do you still respect this Mets team as contenders? Because I'm locked in. The next 3 nights, 7-10, about 5 minutes off from when a proper ball game should start. I can't wait to watch Phillies Mets this week, and I'm curious how you feel. Do you still respect the Mets as contenders at 610-632-0975? Coming up, looking back at this weekend, we got some solid pitching performances. That only continues one of our favorite conversations. What should the postseason rotation be? Oh, this is going to torment us until October. We'll break down what we saw from Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez and what I'm rooting for. I can't say it's my rotation right now, but what I'm rooting for to see come October. Sean Robin producing the program. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back into the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through and you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. A happy Monday morning to everyone. Everyone's back in school. Not everyone, but it feels like it. My morning drive felt like everyone was back to school. It was the first time I went through that. And I think I'm a big fan of education until that first drive in traffic where school's back. And then I'm like, you know what? Do these kids really need school? Do we really need to do the whole school thing? Once you get stuck behind one bus, it changes your entire just viewpoint on education. It really was. I was like, all right, I need to get into the office. Somebody needs to talk about Phillies Mets. Let's get these kids in school. Let's start school an hour earlier, all right? So it doesn't impact my commute on this one. But it was good to see everyone moving around, and I'm living near school now, so I saw all the excitement. I could hear the people getting all fired up to go back to school. So happy Monday morning. Hope everyone made it in safely to work, got everyone to school. As we start a big week for Phillies and Mets, a 3-game set up at Citi Field. I'm asking you, do you still respect the Mets as contenders? Because you've seen their demise. Their struggle has been real over the last 2 months. They have been a very, very poor baseball team for quite a while now. And I don't mean to conjure up bad memories, but one of the reasons why I still respect them is in this current iteration of baseball where we've seen this team can be as hot as they are cold, a team that can go hot for a couple of weeks, can be a problem for you in the postseason. I harken back to 2023. Remember what happened with the Diamondbacks? That Diamondbacks team had a losing record in the second half, backed their way into a postseason spot. Now, I don't know if the Mets are going to be able to back their way into a postseason spot, if the Reds have anything to say about it. But this Mets team is talented enough to get hot for a couple of weeks, carry that, and be a problem for you in the postseason. So I still respect them as contenders, though I'm really, really hoping this week proves that otherwise and that we can put that to bed for good. And I'm curious how you feel about that one at 610-632-0975. Now, over the weekend, Phillies and Nationals. The Phils take 2 of 3 Friday night. Everyone, I think, got a little uneasy with the fact that, oh my gosh, Duran's actually human. He can blow a save. Got that one out of the way. Move on from it. And comes back, gets a save on Saturday. But the real pitching performances I want to talk about are the starting pitching performances you got Saturday and Sunday. Because Saturday, Aaron Nola reminded me of the good Aaron Nola. The Aaron Nola that they signed to a contract. The Aaron Nola that's been here for quite a while. And that's a great first step. He needs to carry that out for 6 weeks before I think anyone will feel comfortable with him stepping on the mound for a postseason start. There's some of you out there that I don't understand that won't feel comfortable at all with him on the mound for a postseason start, as if you've never seen the guy pitch before. You guys just hate him. That is what it is with you guys. How you despise one of the better pitchers you've seen in a Phillies uniform is wild to me. But, hey, it was good to see him out there on Saturday. Look like the Aaron Nola of old. That was encouraging. And then Ranger Suarez yesterday. 7 innings. Just a tremendous job. I believe it was 11 strikeouts, 12 strikeouts for him in that game, only allowing the 3 hits. Just shutting down that Nationals lineup. But again, it's the Nationals lineup, so those two guys having great performances. You have to obviously understand where it comes from. They do have some dangerous hitters, and they were able to hit the Phillies a couple of times over the last 2 weeks. But it was good to see the two of them have the starts that they did over the weekend. And obviously, in lieu of the news that you get on Saturday, that Zach Wheeler is officially done for this season. We wish him all the best. And with what it is in terms of the thoracic outlet syndrome that he has, the way that it was diagnosed, 6 to 8 months in terms of recovery for him. Merrill Kelly had a very similar thing, obviously still pitching in the big leagues. And so that is good in terms of the long-term prognosis, but the short-term here and focusing on what it does for this postseason rotation, you can officially factor Wheeler out of that. Christopher Sanchez slots in as your 1, and we've been talking so much about what goes from 2 to potentially 4 here. And I can tell you what I'm rooting for, what I want. This is not what I would do right now if the postseason started. But what I want by the time we get to, I believe, again, September 29th is that Monday following the final game of the season. It's also the Monday following Eagles-Buccaneers. So I imagine we might talk about this one September 30th more because whatever happens at Eagles-Bucs game is going to be big for everyone to react to and we'll get into. But when we have that conversation eventually that week leading into the postseason, Christopher Sanchez is your number 1, and I'm rooting the rest of the way for it to be Nola, Suarez, and that's your NLDS rotation because you only need 3 in that NLDS. NLCS, then you could throw Luzardo in there as 4. That's what I'm rooting for the rest of the way. Based on what I've seen so far this season, I can't say that would be the rotation that I'd throw out there, but I want to be able to justify Nola getting that second game start with the way he pitches over the next 6 weeks. I want to see Suarez continue this up and get himself on the mound for that third game. And then Luzardo in the NLDS is that weapon we've talked about all season long coming out of the bullpen, being something different than what you have from the left side. That is what I want. That is what I hope to see come postseason time. I don't think necessarily that I'm in a position to get it right now. We need a lot more to happen. If the postseason started right now, I believe I'm trotting out there for that NLDS, the 3 lefty starters. I think it's going to be Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo would be the 3 that I roll out there as the NLDS rotation. If the NLDS began today, I would be trying to buck the trend of having 3 lefties start for you in row, in succession, in a postseason series. I think the only team that made the World Series doing that, I thought I saw this over the weekend, was the 2009 Phillies, and that no teams had actually won the World Series doing that. But that would be the way that I would go about doing it in Sanchez, Suarez, and Luzardo if the postseason started right now. I'm rooting for Nola to get his way into there to be the 2. Let Luzardo drop back to the bullpen. But right now, that's the way I would go with it. I felt very encouraged by what I saw over the weekend from both those guys. Suarez riding the ship is huge for this team. Luzardo seemingly has righted the ship, but I would really like him to be that weapon from the left side out of your bullpen with velocity in a way that Banks and Strahm aren't. And shout out to Banks for bailing them out yesterday. And he has just turned in a tremendous season for this team. But this is the biggest takeaway from me from the weekend was that you got starting pitching out of those 2 guys Saturday and Sunday. The fact you win 2 out of 3, great. I kind of expect you to do that. I know the morning show referenced the tweet that went viral of like, what a pathetic series. They barely beat a bad team. You're robbing yourself of joy on that. I can't really help you out on that. People that can't get any joy out of them winning series, you're robbing yourself of enjoying summer. Like, that's just, they took 2 or 3 out of the weekend. If they had lost on Sunday, we'd react to the loss on Sunday. They won. I can't have myself lose sleep on that one. What are you rooting for this postseason rotation to be? I'm curious. I told you Sanchez, Nola, and Suarez would be what I wanted to see in the NLDS if I had a perfect 6-week stretch of what I want to see from the Phillies coming up. What are you looking for in that 610-632-0975? And a fun moment over the weekend. Mundo Sosa homered. And a reporter that we are good friends with asked Rob Thompson about the celebrations of Mundo Sosa. Coming up, Rob Thompson making jokes, showing personality. Play that for you and then get into a conversation about Rob Thompson. I'm Ray Dunn, take you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Howie Roseman was active on the phones yesterday, reportedly agreeing to 3 separate deals. Let's start with the one that's official. The Eagles traded for quarterback Sam Howell and a 6th-round pick for a 5th and a 7th. According to reports, though, the Eagles have also reunited with tackle Fred Johnson in exchange for a 7th-rounder. Then the Eagles reportedly sent offensive lineman Darian Kinnard to the Green Bay Packers for a future 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. for its initial 53-man roster. The Phillies received some bad news over the weekend with Zach Wheeler officially done for the season as he recovers from a blood clot in his throwing arm. The Phillies start the 3-game series on the road against the New York Mets today, and the Phils currently hold a 7-game lead at the top of the division over the Mets. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to get the start tonight for the Phils, and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. This update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with national LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Fanatic.com.
And what we've been talking about so far today here on the Midday Show, do you still respect the Mets as contenders? You've seen how terrible they've been. The last time the Phillies and Mets played weekend series in Philadelphia, I remember being everyone fired up. Oh, this is what they got to do. This was a seven-game lead right now in the division. You've seen what the Mets have been. I still have that little creeping trauma of what happened last year that I think is keeping them alive in my head. And part of what I laid out, also the top four of their lineup. And I just don't love some of the matchups that their pitching staff give to this Phillies lineup that still have me respect them as contenders. But I understand that that's something that probably leaves me right now in the minority of this Phillies fan base, because most people are just enjoying the Mets' misery and able to compartmentalize what happened last year and say, hey, it's a brand new year, let's move on. And I'm curious for you, if you are one of those people, how you've been able to do that and how you feel about the Mets as contenders right now at 610-632-0975. We got Sean Rodman producing the program. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Ray.
I'm curious. By the way, today, just a programming, you will have the NFL notes at noon. And at 1 o'clock, because the people were like, all right, that gun at one thing got so tiring. We got to get rid of it. We got to get rid of that guy. We've got the Rodman Report at 1 o'clock for the first time. So making its world debut today. If it goes anything like the gun at 1, it will be a tremendous start, and then it'll just crash and burn. So we're hoping the Rodman Report has some longevity to it coming up at 1 o'clock today. But you heard the way I opened the show with the fact that I still respect this team as contenders. And I'm curious for you whether or not you still respect this Mets team as contenders.
I don't necessarily think that they're contenders, no. And that's mainly because of their pitching. And we've seen it out of their starters for a number of them. Now, I know we're going to see some of their better ones this week with the Phillies. But, no, I don't necessarily think they're contenders, but I do worry about them for the Phillies specifically because of the matchup. And, I mean, you mentioned Sean Manaea in the arm slot. He's had their number. Kodai Senga is a very good pitcher and is just dealing this year. Those guys are two of the guys that I'd be worried about for the Phillies specifically into a postseason playoffs. But overall, their starting pitching has not been very good, and their bullpen hasn't been great either as of late.
Yeah, their bullpen has been hilariously bad after that being what they tried to address at the deadline a number of different ways. And maybe the one thing you could take from the way the Phillies addressed their bullpen versus the way the Mets did is instead of going after and trying to see if you can find a couple arms that click in and figure it out, just go get the best arm and then let your own arms figure it out once you have that ninth inning anchor, which they already had the ninth inning anchor. It's funny to me that they can't figure out that bullpen. They have enough guys with pedigree to figure out that bullpen. The Helsley thing, I'm just going to say there was someone that was sitting here saying, I don't know about that Helsley guy as a rental. It looks like, there might be some regression due for him with the way people are hitting him right now. It's not showing up, and it's been pretty great to watch. I'll be honest with you. If you can imagine me sitting in the corner watching, smoking a cigar as Helsley struggles, it's not exactly, it doesn't look as cool as that, but it feels like that every time I watch Helsley give up a run. I feel that way. I feel like I'm giving off that energy.
As someone like you that has family members that are Mets fans, it is very fun to watch.
Whoa! Don't you throw that accusation at me.
They're not Giants Mets fans?
No, they're Giants Yankees fans.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not as bad. My family's the Giants Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sorry, Giants Mets, I mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, God, you're going to have a bunch of people coming up down from North Jersey to fight you.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sure there's a number of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, they would be upset with you on that one. God, don't put that evil on them, Mets fans. But all right, so you have really moved off them as contenders, but you respect them in terms of a matchup for the Phillies. And maybe that's the better way of parsing up what I'm talking about right now, because I think ultimately it only matters to me what the Phillies do. And there probably is a shelf life on how hot that Mets team can get in terms of them actually winning something consequential. Because I'm not looking at them necessarily and saying, yeah, that team is going to go win a World Series, but I'm looking at them as one that, like, if you get them in the NLDS, I'm going to go in there saying the Phillies will win the series. But I know where I was a year ago going into that Phillies series, and all it took was one game, and I was like, yep, this series is cooked. And that would be the thing that I fear with the Mets going forward. And also, I just like to see them win at Citi Field. Later on, I'm going to get into this specifically. There's something about watching a team struggle in the same place over and over again where it just starts to wear on you. And again, it's not a huge sample size, but it's something enough where it started to tweak me a little bit. And I think that I just kind of need, for my own sanity, it doesn't have to be the game that I'm at on Wednesday, but I kind of need it to work out. Now, over the weekend, I mentioned this Rob Thompson thing. This was good. Rob Thompson was meeting with the media following, I think it was Saturday's game where Mundo Sosa homered. And Tim Kelly writes for On Patterson, covers the team, does a tremendous job covering the team. Wanted to ask about Mundo Sosa just being very, very demonstrative in his celebration, how fired up he gets. And it's something that happens, when he gets a base hit, he's excited, he gets a double, you see him celebrate. Like, he is just a great energy and presence to have on this team. So he hits the home run, he celebrates, and the reporter and Tim Kelly wants to get a little bit behind the scenes on the energy of one Edmundo Sosa, asking about the celebration when he hits a home run. Rob Thompson's response, gold.
He always has energy, but he seemed a little more hype as he was going around the bases. Like, do you think it's just the payoff?
Have you ever hit a home run?
No,
I haven't hit too many, but it feels pretty good.
You ever hit a home run? I love it. I love Thompson feeling good right there to go right back and kind of puts him in the locker there with the "you ever hit a home run?" Poor Tim Kelly there sitting there like, yeah, I guess I haven't, so I can eat that one. But Rob Thompson, I bring that. It was just a funny clip from over the weekend. But for Thompson, we obviously are going to judge so much of what happens with this team based on what happens in the postseason. Where do you put the grade for getting through the marathon? Because it looks like Rob Thompson's about to do something that the Phillies, in their history, we've only seen two managers actually accomplish. And that's win back-to-back NL East titles. If you go back to the 70s, they win 3 straight late in the 70s. Danny Ozark does that for you. You go to 80, they win it, and then in 81, you have the weird split season, so you technically finished third that year, but you were in first place first half. You don't really... They've now they put up, I think, a similar colored flag for 81 as they did for 2023 to kind of acknowledge, like, hey, postseason. But, like, it's not the same. So, really, this is only something you've done late in the 70s and through 2007 to 2011 with Charlie Manuel. So only 2 managers have been able to do this. And we're operating under the thought that they win the division because they're up 7, and it would take a considerable collapse for you at this point. Like, we would be talking about his job every day if this ended up happening, where they were not to win the division. So he's in position right now to do something only 2 managers have ever done. How much credit do you give a guy for managing the marathon and actually getting you to that spot? Because I do think it says something that they have not obviously regressed in the postseason in the way they have the last couple of years. But I think there is growth and there is change to the manager just given the way you see his decision-making right now. The way they're managing this outfield rotation might have a little bit something to do with their future plans with Castellanos, but it also has to do with the manager that I think has a good hold of that clubhouse, and he has enough of a voice in there to make this work, despite the fact the way that Castellanos responds to his playing time being threatened. I think there is a considerable, or at least a consideration, for high grades on the way he's managed the marathon over the last couple of years because they have gotten better as a regular season team under him. It's not going to mean a ton if they don't make noise in the postseason. But I think it's something to be acknowledged with Rob Thompson that he's done a solid job in managing the marathon for this team over the last couple of years, keep them in good position to fight for the postseason. Because before this, obviously you know what they had in terms of a manager, you know where they were headed had they not made that change. So I'm curious how much credit you actually give to a manager for getting through the marathon of the regular season and the fact that they're, again, looking like they're going to pace to win a division and be one of the best teams across baseball in Major League Baseball this season. Coming up, we'll get to, I see a couple of texts. We got a call on the line here jumping into the Phillies conversation. Do you still respect the Mets as contenders going into this 3-game set this week? Also asking you, what do you want the postseason rotation to look like? Not what it looks like right now. If you had it perfectly, with the next 6 weeks goes exactly what you want to see, what would you want to see in September? What are you rooting to see for this Phillies team at the start of October for this postseason rotation? Coming up bottom of the hour, the Eagles, a flurry of moves. What do they mean? What does it mean from what we saw on Friday night, the 3rd preseason game? You pretty much got your 3rd preseason game recap with all the moves they made yesterday. I'll break it down for you. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Join The Fanatic.
FanAticSports.com.
Working our way through the 10 o'clock hour here on the midday show. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through it here on The Fanatic. Sean Rodman producing the program today. Later in the week, Amy Fidul will join us. I believe Wednesday and Thursday we have Amy. And later on in the program today, coming up at 1:25, we got Jeff Mosher inside the Birds and Philly Voice as we get closer to roster cutdown days. Eagles made a number of moves. If the Phillies had made deals, that would have been huge news because that's very much not legal right now. If they made trades, we would have been in a whole different world. The Eagles made a couple of moves yesterday, which was basically the recap to what happened in the third preseason game if you were not tuned in. I was. We did post-game here. My thoughts are what they did yesterday was solid, but we'll get into it. I do want to get to the text line first here at 610-632-0975. Asking you both the question, do you still respect the Mets as contenders? And also, if you could have your dream postseason rotation, where from this point forward, everything works out the way you want it to with the Phillies, what does that rotation look like? Sean Robin, what do you got for me?
All right. Well, we have two texts. We're going to stick with Nola, but on both ends of the spectrum here. One, I think, would have them in the rotation, one the other. Let's start with the one that would rather have Nola in the rotation. Said what was encouraging about Nola was he was sitting at 93 and 94 and touching 94. When he has his velo and movement, he's still a good pitcher.
Very true. That was the best thing. When I saw that first inning on Saturday and he touched 94, I was like, whoa, you might be back. You might be back. If he's got his velo, again, we're not asking him to be a 96, 97 guy. But if he's touching 94 and sitting at that 92, 93 range with good movement, he's a good enough pitcher. And that old cliche, the guy doesn't just throw, he actually pitches. Like, that's what he is. Like, he's actually a good pitcher. When he locates and when he's got the movement on his pitches and the velo's there, and people say, well, you're asking for a lot there. That's it's a lot for him to actually be good. That's what you need for most pitchers, but for him specifically, you've seen it, and he's been able to mix that for most of his career. So it is good to see him do that, and I am encouraged about it because seeing that velocity early on, it was not there in the first game against the Nationals. So the fact that it came back was good and encouraging, and part of the reason why, if I had it my way over the next 6 weeks, I don't need 2018 Aaron Nola where he finishes third in Cy Young voting or fourth in Cy, whatever it was that year. I just need a version of Aaron Nola that I've got where he's a mid-threes ERA and could give you 6 innings and allow 2-3 runs, and more than likely those 2-3 runs come on one big swing from someone on the other team.
Well, speaking of that, actually, this person texting in says, why are we still pretending Nola isn't going to be a disaster in the postseason? He's been awful this year, and even his good starts typically include textbook back-to-back homers against a garbage team.
He's not been good this season. I don't know, like, do you want me to try and spin this so that you feel like you're arguing against someone? Like, this is the fun Nola thing, where anyone that, like, wants Nola to be good versus anyone that just hates Aaron Nola, it's like, you want me to tell you that actually what you've been watching for Aaron Nola has been different this season. I can't. He has not been good this year. I can acknowledge he's been bad this year while saying he had a good start on Saturday. The issue is for a lot of people for Aaron Nola, you can't even acknowledge a good start from Aaron Nola because you're so dead set against the guy that it's like, oh, just forget it. He's never been good in the postseason. I'll tell you when he's been good in the postseason. Look at the Braves series over the last couple of years. I keep driving this point home. There have been shortcomings for him. Absolutely in the postseason. He has not been the level of postseason pitcher you've gotten from Zach Wheeler. He has not been. But in those Braves series, to be so clear with you, the difference for the Phillies moving past the NLDS in 22 and 23 was the Phillies had a third pitcher lined up for those series. It was Aaron Nola. What the Braves rolled out there was crap. With all due respect to Spencer Strider, who was hurt at that point and coming back and certainly not the velo that he was, and I believe it was Bryce Elder for that Game 3 in 2023. With all due respect to those guys, in comparison to what Aaron Nola gave you, they were not ready for the moment. A lot of the fun that you've had over the last couple of years has been hinged on the fact that they got past the Braves. They got past the Braves because Nola in the third game was better than anything that could be thrown out by the Braves. We talk about the edge being the starting pitching for this team. There's your example for the postseason. There it is. I don't know what more do you want from me on that one. I'm not telling you he's been Zach Wheeler in the postseason. But in times that you've needed him, there have been times where he's been serviceable. I also acknowledge there's been Sometimes he's left more for you to get. Game 6 against the Diamondbacks in 2023, I don't put that one fully squarely on him because, truthfully, I think there was more at play. The fact that the bats were just nothing at that point, I think we all could acknowledge that could ask for a little bit more from the bats in that series as well, but that wasn't great. I think it was 4 runs. I think it was also a shorter outing for him. So there was your disappointment. But it bothers me a little bit, Rob. It does bother me. Like, you could tell it eats at me because I feel like he has the stink on him of, like, he was a part of the postseason drought. It's like you see how much more talent's on this team now that allows you to go to the postseason than what was there. Like, if you don't acknowledge what he's been for you throughout his career, and you're just like some people are just thrilled he's having the season he's having. People would rather be right than enjoy, like, someone being good.
Well, you go back to last season, too. Like, he wasn't his best last year. He was in a bit of a down year compared to other years for him. Not as down as this year by any means. But when he would have a bad start, people just felt like hated on Aaron Nola and wanted to come out whenever he had another bad start. But when he had good starts last year at times,
I remember that, yeah. No one
wanted to give him credit for it.
No, I remember we fought that battle. Real quick, let's sneak in a phone call here. Go to Greg at Bethlehem about this Mets series. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good morning, gentlemen. I normally, if it wasn't the Mets, I'd be pretty confident, given the Mets' record this year, that we'd probably at least win 2 out of 3. But we might consider there being a Mets curse, and hopefully the thing with Wheeler has galvanized the team. It seems like it has.
Yeah, it certainly seems like they've taken a bit of an energy since. I mean, the Mariners series was there. Obviously, Friday night was tough against the Nationals, but they've been in a position to win all 6 games since, all 7 since they got that Wheeler news back on the Saturday when they were in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I'm sorry, we got a car alarm going
You're all
off
good,
here.
Greg. You go take care of that, and we'll catch up with you. I appreciate you making the phone call. Got to go address that car alarm. Go take care of that car. But he mentioned the Mets curse, and it is interesting because I don't think necessarily, like, the curse, that's a little strong for me. But I do need to see it at Citi Field. It just bothers me a little bit. Coming up, going to get into what the Eagles did over the weekend. And speaking of trades, you can't get mad at me, okay? You can't get mad at me. I'm only reading what was put in front of me. There was a trade proposed by Bill Barnwell of ESPN. It wasn't me. In the 11 o'clock hour, I'm going to tell you what it is. But I didn't propose the trade. I'm simply reacting to the trade. All right, Sean Rodman?
I know. I think I know what you're talking about because I saw
It's
it come
a
up on my phone.
clarification. Clarification. We'll get to it. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Howie Roseman was active on the phones yesterday, reportedly agreeing to 3 separate deals. Let's start with the one that's official. The Eagles trade for quarterback Sam Howell and a 6th-round pick for a 5th and a 7th. And then, according to reports, the Eagles have also reunited with tackle Fred Johnson in exchange for a 7th. Then the Eagles also reportedly are sending offensive lineman Darian Kennard to the Green Bay Packers for a future 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. for its initial 53-man roster. And according to the Athletics' Matt Gelb, the Phillies and Twins will be playing in the MLB's Field of Dreams games in August of next season in Iowa. The Phillies hold a 7-game lead currently atop the division heading into the series against the Mets tonight. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to get the start for the Phils and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. This update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with nationwide LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back into the Weekdays show. Towards the 11 o'clock hour, you're tuned in to WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powered possibilities. And we got in some Phillies conversation earlier. Do you still respect the Mets as contenders? You can get in on that one. Also, just the dream. You line it up, all right? You can have the next 6 weeks go however you want. And I love, Dave Dewar on our YouTube chat said this, and it's just so true. I don't know how you could be a fan of this team and not want Nola to have a good stretch run here and be a contributor for this team. Just, it doesn't make sense to me. I would love to understand how you get to that conclusion. But I want to move to the Eagles for a second, because there was a flurry of moves yesterday. I don't know about you, Sean Robin. I don't know what you have going on with your Sunday. What were you doing?
I was
one
here.
of the final Sundays. Oh, you were here.
I was here when the Sam Howell trade happened. And
Look at that.
So had to hit the breaking news sweeper for Kevin, and then after that, I'd left by the time the other move said.
Oh, there you go. See? This is what happened. I'm sorry. I haven't looked at the schedule, and I was working yesterday, so I was just out of commission pretty much all day when it came to the Fanatic. My weekends are pretty much it's doing post game at this point. So I just kind of know when an Eagles game ends, I have to be on the air. So I try and be here by halftime, and that's kind of the whole thing. Or I guess I try and leave. I live close enough where I can leave at halftime and get here, but I start the second half. So yeah, sorry I didn't know that. I apologize. I feel like a bad teammate here.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not like we used to be on Sundays together.
Well, you left me, so don't turn this into anything other than you were like, you know what, Sundays with Ray, I've outgrown that. I want bigger opportunities at the station, and it's okay. You're not alone. There are a lot of people that produced my Sunday show that looked at my Sunday show and were like, I could probably move to mornings on the weekend. I could do that. Let's go down the list here. The Checo program, Mike Gill, Kevin D. Everyone's like, yeah, I could produce for a name here, or I could produce for Ray. And everyone chooses to produce for the name, and they just like, you know what, whoever's next on the depth chart can go take Ray's show on Sundays. I understand how it happens. I get it.
That's how you want to look at it.
That's the only way to look at it.
I can't convince you otherwise, so then fine.
Silvana left. She's going to go ahead and start producing Bill. You went and started producing DeCecco and Mike Gill. Trying to think who else. Josh Safran went and got a full-time job to get away from me.
He fled the state.
Yeah, Matt Menarek went and got a full-time job to get away from me. It's just how it happens. I get it. I'm not offended by it. I'm not bothered by it. Bread and Gunn.
Sounds like you're a little bothered by it.
It's just the way it happens. I understand, so maybe that's why I wasn't paying attention to what you were doing anymore. But yeah, so yesterday all this news comes breaking down, and it was a trio of trades for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's so funny to me because we got done with postgame Friday night after that preseason game. And we're like, all right, well, where are they going to make these moves? And we're talking about all, like, defensively, yeah, they probably could still improve at corner. They could probably still improve at safety. That edge rusher position's interesting. And so everything's offensive. And they really needed to, following that preseason game on Friday, it became very apparent. Dorian Thompson-Robinson doesn't play. Kyle McCord was 15 of 35, if I believe. He had the uneven performance of a quarterback that's a rookie that was drafted where he was drafted. There were a couple of moments where it's like, oh, yeah, with some time, he might be able to make that throw. Or, oh, look at that arm angle that he kind of uncorked on that pass to Ben Van Sumer, and then I got around a rusher that was in his face. That was impressive. There were like flashes of like, okay, put this guy on a practice squad and give him some time in the league to like understand what he's doing and maybe develop and see what you have there. But it was very evident, and it was Zach Berman that pointed this out at halftime, that Tanner McKee had not taken his right hand out of his sweatshirt and was doing everything with his left hand. Zach Berman was watching that during the game. That's why he's one of the best in the biz. He's locked in on that takeaway from the game. So, all right, if this Tanner McKee injury is going to be more serious, the actual backup on this team, and more serious in the sense of if his week one status is unknown, because you're not handing away week one to the Cowboys if Jalen Hurts goes down. Like, that's what you would be doing basically with the quarterbacks you have on this roster with Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. You needed to address that third quarterback position because, hey, last year you did end up in a situation where you used all three quarterbacks. And if McKee was hurt to the point where week one status was in jeopardy, they needed to go out and get themselves a quarterback. And they did go out and get themselves a quarterback. Sam Howell, for a third-string quarterback, A-okay with me. Works out for me. Hilarious that he ends up here and Wentz ends up taking pretty much his place in Minnesota. A very funny, just NFL carousel moment for you. But that was perfectly fine. And then the Eagles really, if you watched any of this preseason, needed to address that backup offensive line. And one of the oddest ways that this ends up getting addressed is a guy who was here last year, signs away in free agency, and ends up traded back to you all before the season starts. A tremendously odd sequence of events for Fred Johnson, who was the swing tackle last year, signed with the Jaguars in the offseason, and now traded back to the Eagles. It seems like you could have cut out the middleman and just brought him back. You tried to go cheaper. You saw the way they drafted at the end of that draft. They went with a couple of tackles. I think they wanted both of those tackles to work out. Kendall Lamb was another name they brought in. They wanted that to work out. None of it worked out to the point where it didn't justify going out there and bringing Fred Johnson back. So you address it that way, and then they end up trading Darian Kinnard to the Packers, which is important. And why is that important, Sean Rodman? Why is the Kinnard trade so important?
Because it's a future sixth? Is that what you're going
Not
with?
at all. Kinnard three-peated. The Chiefs did not.
Jeez.
Kinnard three-peated. I don't know what magic is around Darian Kinnard, but this impacts Jordan Love's legacy in a big way. He has now been given the backup offensive lineman that wins Super Bowls. If the Packers don't win it this year, you got to question whether or not they'll ever do it again, because Kinnard has been a Super Bowl winner. The guy's got pedigree. I don't care. He's backup offensive lineman. 3 straight. You don't see that happen a lot in the NFL. His quest for 4 is in Green Bay, not in Philadelphia. That's an important note to mark that one down.
You're just pushing the Jordan Love agenda right now.
No, this is actually anti Jordan Love, because if they don't do it, he's the quarterback that didn't get Kinnard the
so you're
4-peat.
just trying to swing it the other way.
No, I'm just pointing this out. It's important to point these big storylines out for the season. A lot of people are saying, can Kinnard go for a 4-peat? I'm asking the question, Kenny. But yes, he gets traded from the Eagles to the Packers after the Eagles pick up Fred Johnson. That was like the biggest takeaway you could have from preseason game number 3 is everything that happened on Sunday. The Eagles need to address the third quarterback on this roster, because if they need him at all in week 1, week 2, whenever it takes for Tanner McKee to be healthy, it could not be McCord or DTR. And that's good to see that they end up going out and get Howell. And then the offensive line depth, that was tough to watch throughout points of this preseason. And I want to pose this question to you. Off of the fact they make 3 trades, none of them have to do with the defensive concerns that we have. I will start by saying it does not bother me. But I could see the fan that right now is in this place. And I want to reach out to you to try and bridge the understanding here. Does it concern you the number of moves that the Eagles have had to already make throughout camp, albeit small trades, but the fact that they continue to address the roster, and you have your own concerns about some of the holes on defense that have yet to be addressed? Because I could see the fan that right now is like, how many trades they make? Why do they keep addressing this roster? I want to reach out to you and hear that concern. I also saw, this is a lot of people on the old Bird app that are just, engagement baiting and trying to have some fun. Probably fans of other teams. They're like, oh, look at the Eagles. Panicking already. Trying to make moves. To me, this is proper assuring of your roster. You knew you didn't have a good enough third quarterback. You went out and got one. You have enough draft picks to make it happen. Offensive line, you knew you needed help, especially that swing tackle position. You went out, you shored that up. You made that work for you. At corner, you needed to address it. Ja'Cory Bennett, we'll see if he ends up being an answer to it, but you at least tried to find an answer to a problem that you have. I'm not really concerned with the number of moves that you make. And if they make a few more over the next couple of days, I'm not really bothered by it. But I can see the fan base, or the fan that sits in this fan base and says, wow, the number of moves that they've had to make, do they not feel comfortable in what they have? And to me, this is just all shoring up what is a Super Bowl contender. It's saying that, hey, if something does happen on that offensive line, you didn't have suitable replacements. Fred Johnson is at least a suitable replacement for a few games. If something were to happen where you end up with third quarterback, Sam Howell's played at this level, and albeit not at a very high level, he did against the Eagles a couple times, but you feel more comfortable with him than what you already have on this roster in Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord to be that third quarterback. At corner, again, Keely Ringo showed you that he's not going to be the guy. Adoree Jackson, you know kind of what he is in this league. Go see what you get in Jacorian Bennett and see if he can be coached up within this system, be something more than what he's been so far in this league. Those moves don't bother me, but I could see the fan that sits there and says, this is way too many moves for me to feel comfortable that they're comfortable with what they are right now. John Mechie, I'd even bring him up. They went out and addressed the wide receiver room as well. So I could see the fan that sits here concerned. But I'm curious for you at 610-632-0975. Does it concern you the number of moves they've had to make prior to this season? Because me, I don't get bothered by it, but I could see the fan that was. And I said something that might bother you. Coming up, we will address a proposed trade by Bill Barnwell. ESPN put this out. If you're going to get mad, don't get mad at me. Get mad at ESPN. I'm simply reacting. I see it. I read it. I think about it. And we discuss it. Sure, Robin, sounds simple, right?
Sounds pretty simple.
Sounds pretty simple. All right, so coming up, Bill Barnwell proposed a trade for the Eagles to make. I'll react to it. Kind of like it. I'll be honest with you. They addressed the edge rusher position. I know a lot of you won't. I'm Ray Dunn, taking through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, everybody. Welcome back into the midday show. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you. Before we get into this Eagles topic, I was just scrolling the YouTube chat. And hello to our YouTubers. Nice to see you. Hope you all had a great weekend. I hope everyone had a great weekend, not just our YouTubers, but, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I saw someone commented, sorry, I missed the name here for a second. I just went back at them and said, hey, these guys are young. Is this Temple Radio? I had an awesome moment yesterday. So I did a doubleheader of soccer games on ESPN Plus for Temple, and I went to the 7-Eleven on campus, which many are familiar with, not far from Maxie's, where John and Andrew were hanging out last week. And I wanted to get, it was 2 games, so I wanted to get a little La Colombe can, and I wanted to get a little snack for in between games. And the cashier asked me if I was excited for classes.
Oh, Ray.
I was thrilled. Are you kidding me?
You're thrilled?
Yeah, I was like, great. I was like, sometimes I wake up like, wow, I've aged like 3 decades, and years been since I've been at Temple, and because it feels that way sometimes. I'm just tired. I feel like I look like I've got the beard. Certainly doesn't help that out. I was thrilled. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's like I am very excited for my undergrad classes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I shaved my beard, I'd probably look like I was closer to 16 rather than 27, but I still don't look 27, and I'm well aware of that as well. And sure, I would have gotten the same question at the same 7-Eleven.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was thrilled about it. I told someone about it. They're like, oh, were you offended? It's like, about what? It's like, I feel older every day. Like, why not just accept the fact that someone for a second there thought I was young? I was there. I was on campus. I realized how many years it's been post-grad. I was like, that's a little much. And it's been more for you, and it's been more for most of our audience. So I understand it's a bit of a knife for me to be twisting in your back talking about this, but it was great for me in that moment. I loved it. And something else I love, this trade proposal. All right, listen. I get it, everyone. I get it. We want to hold to the young talent this defense has. You appreciate what the Eagles have built. All that. Like, they got to pay their own guys. They got to pay their own guys. They got to pay their own guys. But Bill Barnwell puts this out. He wrote a story, NFL preseason trades, 10-team offers for players, draft picks. This came out hours ago, around 6 o'clock this morning. And we're a day before cutdown days. And he wanted to see 10 trades made across the NFL. The top trade, the first one listed, he puts pen to paper. Really just starts typing out his story. The Bengals take what they can get for a disgruntled star. The Bengals get Jalix Hunt, a 2026 third-round pick, and a 2027 conditional pick in exchange for Trey Hendrickson, as the Eagles acquire the star edge rusher. The write-up. Barnwell says he can't keep getting away with this, can he? If anybody might get creative to strike a deal for the most expensive player left on the market, it's Philadelphia general manager Howie Roseman, who has a Super Bowl caliber roster, team owner perpetually willing to spend more money, and questions about was recently the league's deepest defensive line. And there's been laid out before just how much money they've spent on their offense compared to their defense. Yada, yada, yada. They would have to get Hendrickson's cap hit under $20 million for each of the next 2 seasons. And it brings me back to something I was listening to last week. I've mentioned a few times, I'm a listener to the Phillies special podcast that Shil Kapadia does for The Ringer. And he likened this situation to the Danielle Hunter situation with the Texans, where you got a guy over 30 that's looking for a new contract, extend the long-term extension. You go restructure the 1 year, add the extra year, big money, and that's your contract. Could Hendrickson agree to that? Maybe, maybe not. Depends what he values. If he were to be agreeable to the restructure, a lot of cash up front here, get your hip down to what it needs to be this year, you get whatever you get for next year, throw in a bonus there. Lurie, it's not my money, it's Lurie's money. You figure out the money here. Where it's not a long-term commitment to a guy in his 30s. Instead, it's a lot of money right these 2 upcoming years, whatever it takes in the cap. Would you be okay with the Hunt third-round pick, conditional pick for Trey Hendrickson?
Now, I would be okay with it as long as there's a contract extension. Now, if you do it without a contract extension beforehand, I would be a little worrisome.
I don't think they do this without having some sort of contract in play. I mean, you heard the clip of Howie
where I was
Roseman
about to-
talking about A.J. Brown and that draft night trade. Like, I don't think he's going to be the guy that does. He's not going to do what the Jets did with Hassan Reddick, make the trade and not have anything in place.
I understand that, but when Howie agreed to the trade at that point, he didn't have a contract necessarily done then with A.J. Brown. Is kind of where I was going with that.
The way I took that clip was that he had it.
He had a couple hours to basically get the deal, to finalize the deal based
Right.
on getting a contract done. And are you going to be the guy, that's when he said, are you going to be the guy that doesn't get a contract done with A.J. Brown?
Exactly. Which is why when they announced the trade, they had the contract done.
Exactly, but to your point before, it's a guy over 30. I mean, yes, he's had 17 and a half sacks each of the last 2 years. He'd be the Eagles' best edge rusher at that point. A contract has to be done, and as long as the contract's done, I'm in.
I'm doing it. I'm to that. I like Jalen Hunt. I understand what he could be. It's been amazing how quickly he's picked up the position. Obviously, we're going to have the memories of what happened last year for a very long time. The third-round pick in 2026, to hell with it. I don't have any warm and fuzzy feelings about a 2023 third-round pick. Or 2026 third-round pick. Goodbye. Conditional pick in 2027. All right, cool, whatever. They got 1 million picks over the next couple years. They can go. You add Trey Hendricks into this defense, and it has a down-the-line effect here. Of one, I feel a lot better about that edge rusher position, but we've also wanted one of two things to be addressed. The secondary, so I feel better about the fact that they might have a lack of pass rush, or the pass rush so I can feel good about the holes that potentially exist in that secondary. If you're able to make this trade possible, and you're able to set it up, and again, I say this because I lean on what I was listening to with Chukabati talking about, could you do something like what Daniil Hunter did in that deal where basically you restructure the 1 year, give the extra year, big payday, and that's how you deal with the guy in his 30 making money. I would be in on that. I would be in on that type of contract structure. If they make this a whole 5-year thing where you're end up not being able to pay guys down the line, I could understand where people have hesitation. But if this is the deal that puts you over the top this season, I don't understand why you don't make it. And for everyone that wants to talk about who they have to pay within their own system, yeah, they got to pay all those guys. That's absolutely true. Right now, we talk about how great a marriage they have in terms of the money they've spent on offense and how young their defense is. Eventually, things will be undone there. Let me capitalize on the moment today and then worry about tomorrow when tomorrow shows up. But I'm curious for people. Let me lay that deal out one more time for you. I see this now. Chuck Sands. If the Eagles are favored to win the Super Bowl, why make major changes? Preseason favorites struggle all the time. They got 11 playoff teams on this schedule. It's not an easy schedule. You mess with it because your team can get better. I want my team to continue to get better. I think you get better with this deal. That's why I would mess with it. But I'm curious for people out there if you would mess with it at 610-632-0975. The deal is, again, Bill Barnwell lays this one out. Jalen Hunt, 2026 third-round pick, 2027 conditional pick in exchange for Trey Hendrickson. Would you make that deal with the Bengals? Assuming I can figure something out with Trey Hendrickson, that's not like a 5-year window where he ends up getting paid until he's like 35, where he gets big money over the next 2, potentially 3 years. Let the wizard figure it out. Go make it happen, Howie. Sign me up for it every day of the week. I need something to address one of those 2-3 holes you feel like you have on that defense. Would you do it? 610-632-0975. Coming up, we'll get back to the Phillies conversation. Big series against the Mets, and also some news about where they're playing next year. A little Field of Dreams action. Are we all making the trip? It just sounds like everyone's making the trip. Who's against this? And this is one of the great ideas. I'm going to get into this. I'm excited for it. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through the midday show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Howie Roseman was active on the phones yesterday, reportedly agreeing to 3 deals, and we'll walk you through them. Let's start with the first one. The Eagles traded for quarterback Sam Howell and a 6th for a 5th-round pick and a 7th. That one is official, and then according to reports, the Eagles have also reunited with tackle Fred Johnson in exchange for a 7th, and they've also reportedly sent offensive lineman Darian Kinnard to Green Bay for a future 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. for its initial 53-man roster to be finalized. And some bad news for the Phils. Zach Wheeler is officially done for the season as he recovers from a blood clot in his throwing arm. Although the Phillies do start a 3-game series against the Mets, they currently hold a 7-game lead atop top of the division. Christopher Sanchez will get the start for tonight for the Phils, and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. Tanner McKee reportedly has a fractured thumb, and it is unknown if he'll be ready for week 1, but it does not look like he'll be an IR candidate at this time. This update is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I want to start with the biggest positive development, biggest surprise. Because I guess surprise can also go negative, but I have disappointment coming up. So your biggest surprise in a positive light.
I have a
from Cam.
few.
All right. Hit me with 2 of them.
Positive surprise, Darius Cooper, the rookie wide receiver out of Tarleton State. He was sort of buried and an afterthought when the Eagles announced their undrafted rookie free agent class. Every single day he made a play, and the moment was never too big for him. He definitely proved that he belonged, and it wasn't just the splash plays. He was consistent. And for an undrafted rookie, you see those every year. Every team has them. He can play, and I do believe that he's going to make this roster.
He's going to make the 53. If you had to look at that wide receiver room right now, who's in the 53?
I would say, obviously, A.J., Devontae, Jahan, John Mechie. We'll have to wait and see about Johnny Wilson, so I'm going to take him out of this equation for now. Anais Smith being the punt returner, and Darius Cooper, he's just shown too much. And if you already have the mindset that Jahan Dotson won't be an Eagle or potentially won't be an Eagle next year, well, Darius Cooper gives you some cost-effective depth that you can kind of develop this year.
Not underestimate how good JT has been. Since June 9th, he has the best batting average of any player in the National League, any of them. The thing I've noticed is these pitchers, Zach Wheeler in particular, they go out of their way to talk about how important he is, how valuable he is. Why is that? They're trying to send a message that they need him back. He's going to say, why should I take a pay cut? I think it's safe to say Kyle Schwarber's contract needle isn't pointing down. So this is going to be a lot more expensive to keep them both. The one thing about JT is he'll be 35 next opening day. You know how many catchers in this century have started 125 games in the season at age 35 or older? It's one.
One?
Jorge Posada. Wow. Started 127. That was 15 years ago. Again, I think that points to a shorter deal for JT, but even if it's short, he's going to want to get paid. Are the Phillies going to be able to afford, say, $45 million to re-sign JT and Kyle Schwarber per year? I mean, they're going to free up some money with Ranger and Kepler and Romano and Joe Ross and Alvarado if they don't pick up his option. But I think you're asking me, can they afford to sign both? You should really be asking John Middleton. It's his call.
To the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I got to say, our YouTube is now doing this like playback thing while during our commercial breaks they're playing other content from other shows. And like I just saw that they were playing some of the Stark audio from
Unfiltered?
and when Stark talks, I like to listen. So I'm like listening to another show as our show is going. It's like showception happening right now for me.
I'm surprised you know that movie.
All right, dude, come on. I know the movie. I
You've never
know
seen
movies. It's not about knowing movies. The knowing movies is not a problem for me. You say the name of a movie, I know the name of the movie. If I've seen the movie is the bigger question.
Have you seen Inception?
Well, we got to get to our content here today. All right, you're taking too many distractions. All right, I can't be distracted by what you're talking about right now. Speaking of distractions here, did you see? We're gonna get to this Field of Dreams thing in a second, and back to our main Phillies topic. Kansas State. Did you see the viral video going around?
No, I
that
did not
apparently
see this.
their quarterback's brother and dad got into a fight.
What?
Following the game, they're like on the ground, rolling around, fighting each other.
Brother and dad.
And dad.
Weren't they in... Wasn't that game in Ireland?
Yeah, that was the game in Ireland. They were talking in the morning show like, oh, like why are you bringing college football to Ireland? Stop. Why? It's week 0. Go get me a pint. Let's go enjoy the game in Ireland. It's a fun trip. You gotta rain on everybody's parade with that. Why you take a college football to Ireland? Leave me alone.
I mean, it's a great excuse to go to Ireland if you're one of those Kansas State fan.
Andrew hating on the Irish for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in Kansas. You're in Manhattan, Kansas, right? That's where Kansas State is?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you could take a trip somewhere else for a weekend. Go see the world. You're in, was Iowa State was the other one, I think, right, in that one?
I believe
know.
so. I didn't watch.
I didn't watch it. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I watched a little bit of Fresno State, Kansas, just because I had a little bit of interest in seeing Warner's kid, EJ.
EJ, former Temple Owl.
Former Owl. I wanted to see EJ Warner just for a little bit. So I had a little bit of interest in watching that one. But other than that, I didn't do a ton of college football over the weekend. But, yeah, apparently wild. They were just swinging on each other. Brother and dad going at it. Like, come on.
During the next break, I'm going to have to check that out.
Like, a little bit of awareness on there. Like, people will ID you very quickly. And, like, family on this, like, just, you're making his life so much tougher. You know what he's going to have to show up to on Monday at the pressers? Answering questions about you guys. Whatever. Just be better. That's all I'm asking for Avery Johnson's family. Just be a little bit better. All right. I mentioned Kansas in the middle of this country. It leads me right into Field of Dreams. Because I'm excited about this Field of Dreams thing. We're going to get to that in a second. I want to get back to the question I asked you earlier to open the show. Do you still respect the Mets as contenders? You can get on that 610-632-0975. I have to. I'm still there because the top 4 in their lineup, the way some of these pitchers that not necessarily the best in the game, but the way they match up with this Phillies lineup. And the Phillies have lost 8 of 9 up at Citi Field, including 2 games in the postseason, including three games earlier this season. As much as this Mets team has been hilarious to watch fail for the last 60 games they've played, so basically over a third of the season, I still sit here and have to respect them based on what they did to you last year. It's a little bit of PTSD from that based on what you've done up there at Citi Field and the way they could match up with you in the postseason. I still have to respect them. Now, I'm curious for you, Sean Rodman, what you got there on the text line, 610-632-0975.
Well, this person also agrees with you. I don't believe the Mets are World Series contenders, but they still scare me in a series versus the Phillies.
And that's the respect I have to give them. If I sit here and tell you that I think they're winning the World Series, I'm lying to you. I don't think that's the case at all. But if you get them in a short series, I still have to respect them in that regard. Right now, I think it might be a little bit more of the insecurity, a little bit about what they did last year in the postseason. The Phillies go up there, take 2 or 3. I know Chuck Sands, who I went back and forth with on the YouTube chat in the last segment, said Phillies take 2 or 3 up in New York. We could start to put this one to bed in the NL East. That's when I will. I've been very consistent about that one since last week when we had that conversation about when you could put this NL East to bed. Because we've been talking about that for a little while. Now, I want to get to this Field of Dreams thing because I'm excited about this. Also, everyone was reacting to the news of the Field of Dreams game between the Phillies and the Twins. That'll be sometime next August out in Iowa. But I'm more excited that this little nugget in that story in The Athletic, because Matt Gelb and Dan Hayes were on top of this one, breaking this news. Major League Baseball revealing its schedule tomorrow, which means W's and L's. 162 games worth of W's and L's coming your way at some point this week. If it drops tomorrow while we're on the air, don't you worry. 1 o'clock hour, we got you covered. If it drops after our show tomorrow, Wednesday, Amy Fadul's return to the midday show. She ducked W's and L's for the NBA season. Don't you worry, Amy. Don't you worry. We will have you on Wednesday for W's and L's for the Phillies season next year. I can't wait. On a very serious note, I love Major League Baseball dropping their schedule because our schedules around here, in the summer it opens up a little bit. You're able to take that trip, much like I planned to take that trip to California this summer. Didn't happen. But I'm very excited. I love seeing the baseball calendar because I like to try and plan trips on my summer based upon that. I was out in D.C. for the first opening weekend this year. I obviously went up to Citi Field earlier this year, which is why I still respect the Mets contenders because I saw how that went. Going to Citi Field on Wednesday night. I'm hoping next year I can make my trek out to San Francisco for the first time. There's a couple more ballparks I want to see, but this is the schedule drop I get most excited for. Maybe it's because baseball is my favorite sport, but I'm excited for that on Tuesday. As for this specifically, I know a lot of people are interested in the Field of Dreams scheme. Have you heard anyone against this yet, Sean Rod?
No, I haven't heard anyone against it. Why would you be against it? It's an all-time classic of a movie. They did a nice job of building that stadium a number of years ago, and they need to go back to it. They didn't do it this year, and they need to go back to it. Sure, it's in the middle of Iowa. It's hard to get to for people that are maybe from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. The closest airport, I guess, would be the bigger airport. Might be Des Moines, Iowa. It's about a 3.5-hour drive, or Cedar Rapids out there.
Look at you and your Iowa knowledge. Just dropping Iowa knowledge on us.
It's only about an hour drive from Cedar Rapids. It helps that I was able to do this yesterday when I looked it up.
Someone's already planning. How many people at this station are taking off this time next year?
Hey,
I just saw Vito walk by. Mike Vito walk by again. Can I start to reserve vacation time? Because it sounds like everyone here is going. And I don't want to be the one
someone's going to be denied.
Yeah, I don't want to be the one denied there. All right, just out of curiosity, let's. What's the magic number for 6 weeks? You want to schedule a flight out? That's the magic for you.
Where you about get the 6 weeks.
Bet the best price. Cedar. I just want to see. I'm looking at American here. The flight options from Philadelphia to Cedar Rapids. Just out of curiosity, because our resident travel coordinator and expert, Sean Rodman, put this together for us, that apparently Cedar Rapids is the closest. It's not bad, actually. Oh, wait, no, connecting flights all across. Okay. Was there anything there's nothing nonstop on a Tuesday. Now, let's see. How many nonstop flights do we get a week from Philadelphia to Cedar Rapids on American? Right. All the ones that I got on that random Tuesday were connecting. So let's see, maybe Monday more.
Cedar Rapids, I would assume that you're going to have a connecting flight no matter what.
I don't know. How many direct flight? I feel like that's a direct flight type destination, right? Someone's got to go direct there.
Des Moines, Iowa, sure. Cedar Rapids, I don't know about that.
Wait, let's see.
You could also fly into Chicago, Milwaukee, or some other options too. Also about 3.5 to 4 hour drives from.
Yeah, I'm seeing just a lot of connecting flights. Nonstop does not seem to be. I want nonstop. Yeah, there's just no nonstop. All right. Well, hey, good luck to the people out there. I understand this travel conversation is riveting, but you're telling me we have a little bit of breaking news here.
Yes, we do. It looks like Terry McLaurin is going to be staying with the Washington Commanders. He's getting a 3-year extension worth $96 million, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network.
That was the right thing to do. To extend the guy. I don't know why we had to do the whole charade here. I understand it's negotiations, but this whole dance that they were not going to have him, that's where he was going to end up, where he should have ended up. Would have been dumb not to. As soon as you trade for Debo, you risk this happening where you were going to have him asking for more money because you're going to pay Debo. You should pay McLaurin. McLaurin has been, in terms of that roster, the number of quarterbacks they've given him throughout the years and what he has given you in terms of production, there is no way that you could justify after the season you had last year not paying the guy. So that got done. Really didn't think it was going to be something that did not happen. And the Commanders are still the Commanders. I don't really have much more on it. I saw that one of those division graphics that popped up over the weekend of this has been the way the NFC East has gone. And given the trend, technically, the Commanders are in line for the division the way it's gone, because it's usually been Commanders, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys. Maybe I have that flipped around the other way. Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. Whatever it was, the lineup that they had in terms of the trend was leaning towards a Commanders year.
To put in perspective of that contract too for you with Terry McLaurin, it is the tied for 10th largest contract for a wide receiver with the Eagles' very own A.J. Brown, and for an average annual salary is tied for 7th with still Eagles receiver A.J. Brown at $32 million on average.
So you got a good deal. He's a good receiver. They got it taken care of. Commanders still second to be in this division. Good for them. Good for Terry McLaurin. Real quick to put a bow on that Field of Dreams conversation. I'm curious the argument against the Field of Dreams. I didn't like the NASCAR thing because it wasn't set up right. Like, it didn't make any sense to me in that regard. I like baseball doing these. I like neutral site games across sports. I've long said that I think the 17-game schedule for the NFL, 8 home, 8 road, 1 neutral site. I would love for every 4 years when the Eagles and Steelers play for that to be up at Penn State. I think that would be insane. Like, that'd be theater. I would love to see that at Beaver Stadium. I would. I think it'd be awesome. You think, just imagine half the state coming one way, half the state coming the other way, meeting in the middle, and that game being played there. Be awesome. Would love it. I'm all for the neutral site games across sports. I've yet to hear a compelling argument against the Field of Dreams game. So I invite anyone who does not like the Field of Dreams game idea, Phillies, Twins, next August, out there in Iowa, please enlighten me on why I shouldn't like it at 610-632-0975. Because it's been one of those unanimous approvals, and I don't want to live inside my bubble if there are people that don't like it. So that's just a curiosity for me. Coming up, get back to that Phillies-Mets conversation. Also, talked about the starting rotation. Bullpen after the weekend. A little reassessment. Take a look at things. He's Sean Robin. I'm Ray Dunn. This is the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Monday, August 25th, the Phillies took 2 of
I'm Ray Dunn. Sean Rodman producing the show here on 97.5 The Fanatic, your midday show. I have now created, because I'd said kind of to hell with flying on this one. And if you missed this is the Field of Dreams game next August, 2026. The Phillies and Twins playing in Dyersville, Dyersville, Iowa. So, I've put together a road trip that absolutely can work for you if you want to try and hit as many ballparks as you possibly can in your life. So I just told Mike Vito to stay tuned because I was going to put in an entire vacation request right now. So if you want to do this drive, forget the flying thing, all right? Yeah. You're going to fly in Cedar Rapids, whatever. Travel coordinator Sean Rodman, I don't need your help, all right? Assistant to the traveling secretary. I've got the plan for you. You leave Philadelphia. You drive across the state. You spend a night in Pittsburgh. You watch a Pirates game. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You then go from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. You watch a Guardians game. Then you go from Cleveland to Detroit. You catch a Tigers game. From Detroit, you go to Chicago. You catch probably the Cubs. Let's all be honest with ourselves. Are you going to watch a White Sox game?
No.
I'm probably going to the White Sox game because I've already been to Wrigley. But even then, I might not want to go.
If you had a choice between the two.
I'm going to Wrigley.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Wrigleyville, hands down. From Wrigleyville and Chicago, you go up to Milwaukee. You catch a Brewers game. Then from the Brewers game, you end up in Iowa. So you were able to hit 5 ballparks before you get to Iowa. On the return trip from Iowa, you go south. You go to St. Louis, work your way from St. Louis to Cincinnati. From Cincinnati, you get yourself to D.C. From D.C., the Cincinnati leg is going to be tough. You're probably going to have to stop midway through somewhere like maybe back in, I don't want to send you back to Pittsburgh. Somewhere in I don't want to send you to West Virginia either. Probably back to Pittsburgh. D.C., Baltimore, and then you return to Philadelphia. All things considered. You see 5 games on the way. You see the 6th in Iowa. You see 4 games on the way back. Now, what I'm asking for from the people is a very generous donation of a lot of money to me and for this company to give me a very generous donation of vacation time so that I can try and hit, 12 games? I think I can make that happen in 2 weeks, assuming the schedule works out.
Yeah, you need to get really lucky with that, too.
I'm going to look.
The schedule hasn't even dropped, and you're already planning.
When this schedule drops for Major League Baseball, so tomorrow the schedule will drop, I'm going to see if I can make this incredible road trip happen. From Philly all the way back around, where you end up seeing a dozen baseball. It would be amazing if it did. Now, knowing me, I'm sicko enough where I would go to a minor league, like I'd be just finding minor league parks to stop along the way.
Yeah, you might find one in West Virginia at that point.
But what I'm looking for is basically a rich person that believes in this trip to sponsor this trip. I'll do call-ins every show, every day. I don't know if this trip's possible yet, but this would be fun content. This would be good. This would be good stuff. You pack me in a car with like a videographer, and we just go.
You'd take one other person who you'd taken from the station.
Ooh. If I could do this trip with one other person, let's see. Not you.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
That's a good stuff. Brandon Dutz might be up there as one of the people I would take. Dutz is just, also for the content purposes, really good with digital. So Dutz might be up there. Though his fandoms might rub me the wrong way by the time we get to like...
Pittsburgh?
No, Detroit. I'll give him a couple cities before.
All right.
I also got to think about people that want to do things that I would want to do. Like my idea of fun versus someone else's idea of fun. I'm not going with Colarulo.
We knew that.
He's got the kids anyways.
Yeah, he can't do it with the kids. Anyone from the morning show?
I was thinking. See, by the time like we got to like Connor would want to take his Mustang. He would want to drive with the top down. He would want to drive shirtless. And like just his overall vibe by the time we got to, I would give him till we got to Chicago. He would drive me nuts. I could absolutely do a weekend trip hanging out with Connor Thomas. Like I could. I think the tendency, like the energy that he would bring to it would be a little much. think I could do the trip with Salciunas. I probably could do the trip with Connor Thomas as well. Salciunas. Kincade and I's idea of fun, I think, would probably
Differ a little bit.
I think it just state of life type of thing. So I think the two of us probably wouldn't have the same idea of fun. So that would probably hurt our chances of having a good road trip. Brendan Gunn probably would drive me crazy. He would just unleash some ridiculous take somewhere between like Chicago and Milwaukee, and I think that would send the whole trip into a spiral. Honestly, he'd want to stop at South Bend, and that would probably ruin it. He would want to go see something. He would want to stop on Notre Dame's campus for the first time and tell me about his lifetime fandom of Notre Dame, and that would probably ruin it for us. Let's see. Ricky, I feel like, and I could have a good time on that trip. I honestly would be concerned about Ricky and I having, like someone that we got to be able to get up and drive to the next place. I could see Ricky and I enjoying the baseball and then, like, Wrigleyville knocking both of us out.
Well, I do have some bad news for you.
Yeah.
According to Matt in East Torresdale, he tried planning a similar trip once, and he said it is nearly impossible to get all the teams at home.
Right. No, it is very much impossible. Petrelli throwing that out there. Petrelli, I think Petrelli and I could have a good time. I would say, though, Petrelli would almost be content overload. Like, there would be Petrelli's really good at, like, putting out, like, the quick videos of what he's doing.
Yes.
I almost think that would be a little content. Like, by the time we got to, I think we'd make it to Iowa, we'd be cycling back to, like, St. Louis and Cincinnati, and maybe, all right, Petrelli, like.
You'd probably have to stop at, like, a cornhole tournament in Indiana.
Well, that's also true. He would have ulterior motives that I wouldn't love. Trying to think. I would want to have fun on this trip, so I want to go out, and, yeah, I just want to, like, I would have to find someone that matches the vibe of that. That's more where I'm going to. I think I would appreciate the baseball stories I got along the way from Kevin, but I also think Kevin and I's idea of fun would also differ. So I don't know if I would do the trip. Mike Gill and I still haven't met, so I really, we just keep missing each other. We're like,
Mike Vito?
No, Mike Gill. And
I know, but what about Mike Vito?
Mike Vito. Oh, Vito and I. Yeah, but you see, Vito would get so many calls about doing work here that it would be like taking work on the road. So I feel like both of us, like, we would start to carry the weight of, like, having work, like, on the way, and he might be like trying to make sure that I hit my call-in time exactly if it got sponsored, and that would be tough. Be like, all right, dude, we got to put the work down for a second. But Vito and I think, could have a good time on the trip.
I love that I was immediate no.
Yeah, no.
Is it because I left you on Sundays still?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still hurt over that for sure.
I thought so.
Yeah, that still bothers me. Underrated person that'd be really good for this trip, Austin Jones.
I was about to bring up Austin.
Austin Jones feels like he would be, because I think he would know when to turn on, turn off in terms of, like, just, like, energy-wise. Like, you're, like, 3 hours into a car ride, and you're like, maybe we don't need to speak right now as we go through, like, just the middle of this next state. Austin would be an underrated good guess for. Who at the Fanatic would you most want to take on a road trip? 610-632. I don't know. This road trip seems like a good idea. Monarch and I's idea of fun would probably end up being the driving force between the two of us, but Monarch would be, I think, a great road trip companion.
I think you would probably
if I go out, you're going to be like, all right, Ray, like, just, be awake for tomorrow's trip. You know that. Monarch's looking at me through the glass. He's like, what do you mean our idea of fun? We'd have a great time at the games, but outside the games, Monarch would be like, he's a great family man. Me, my time of life, I'm a great chaotic man. It's just the two different things here. I think Monarch and I would have a great time, though, hanging out through the entire trip. At this point in my life, I'm going to have fun alone. Like what he said right there. This is probably going to be a lone road trip for me. I hate that you have that drop.
It's one of my favorite drops.
All right, coming up, we got the NFL notes at noon. I did not expect that road trip to take up an entire segment. But it sounds like a great idea. I want to make this through. So if you are if you just have the way to finance this one, let's put this one out there. We're going to get to the Field of Dreams game and like a dozen baseball games in between. I've wanted to do this around Pennsylvania specifically before. With all the teams that we have, like professional, summer collegiate, like those teams. But this also sounds like a great idea. Coming up, NFL Notes at noon. Take you through, again, what the Eagles did over the weekend. And I've got my own live 53-man roster that I'm going to run you down. This is all the beats submit theirs because, they're beats. They do a great job. But I've got my own personal. All right, we're going to get to that one. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Howie Roseman was active on the phones yesterday and has agreed to 3 separate deals. And let's start with the first one. The quarterback, Sam Howell's coming from Minnesota to the Eagles. It would be Sam Howell and a 6th rounder for a 5th and a 7th. Then the Eagles also are bringing back Fred Johnson, who started a number of games last year at tackle for an exchange for a 7th-round pick. Then the Eagles will also be sending an offensive lineman, Darian Kennard, to Green Bay for a future 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. to get their initial 53-man roster submitted, and Ray will be doing his coming up next and what he thinks the Birds will be. The Phillies received some bad news, though, over the weekend with Zach Wheeler now officially done for the year as he recovers from blood clots in his throwing arm. Good news, though, for those doing a road trip. According to the Athletics' Matt Gelb, the Phillies and Twins will be playing in MLB's Field of Dreams game in August next season in Iowa. The Phils take on the Mets this week, and Christopher Sanchez is on the mound tonight for the Phils, and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is at 7:10. This update is brought to you by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with rom-coms, romnesties, and the really steamy stuff. Listen free with a 30-day trial. Audible.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Closing in on the 12 o'clock hour. You're listening to WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. And we got off the rails with that one. I might have to make a definitive yes to the road trip, no to the road trip group on The Fanatic. People I would go with. To be fair to you, Sean Rodman, by the way, I'm Ray Dunn, host of the show here. Hi. You are not as much of an immediate no as Bill, if that makes you feel any better.
That does make it feel a lot better.
Yeah. Bill was like, we're not. The second that he forgets to eat a Kind bar, and we're not even yet past State College on the way to Pittsburgh, I'll be like, oh man, I regret this already.
Do you reach King of Prussia before the Kind bar comes out?
No, but he'll miss one while, in the whole process there. And apparently he becomes a bear when he misses food. I don't know. That's his own words, not mine. Plus, he's got the kids. You can't
forget about the kids.
He's got the kids. He's got the kids. You know who I would do this trip with? I just got a text from him because they mentioned him on our morning show today. Our old buddy Josh. He'd be perfect for this trip. Josh, that would be the person that just totally knows, hey, Ray's tired. Don't talk to Ray. Leave him alone. That's the person that could go 12 cities with this. Now, the Eagles made a flurry of trades. We got the NFL notes at noon coming up, and the note that we passed along the 11 o'clock hour, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, signs a contract extension. So, good for them. I kind of figured they were going to figure that out. But the Eagles making a flurry of moves. We are a day away from roster cutdown days. Coming up at 1:25, we'll have Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and Philly Voice to join us to talk about all things going on with the Eagles. The 53 I got right now. Sean Robbins, stop me when you disagree with anyone. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Hurts, McKee, Owl. Barkley, Shipley, Dillon, Van Sumeren. Brown, Smith, Dotson, Mechie, Cooper. Goddard, Calcaterra, Granson.
Granson over Jenkins?
Yes.
I don't have a problem either way with it. I would just think you might want a better blocking tight end.
You might, but I'm not.
All right.
Granson has been the darling of all darlings for those that have been at practices. Maybe Jenkins. We'll get to that in a second. Jenkins in a second. I did tell you to stop me when you disagreed, so that's on me. Mailata, Dickerson, Jurgens, Steen, Johnson. Also, Johnson, Pryor, Kendall, Keegan. And then I think one of the either Williams or Hinton, depending on the way they want to go in that spot with the 10th offensive lineman. Carter, Davis, Ojomo, Robinson, Young. Smith, Hunt, Uche, Ojulari, Johnson, Vaughn, Campbell, Trotter, Mondon, Mitchell, DeJean, Jackson, Ringo, Bennett, McWilliams, Blankenship, Brown, Makuba, McCollum, and then the 3 specialists. So that leaves one spot. That's 52. I'm leaving one spot because I think they leave one spot and grab someone. That's my 52-man roster projection. The 53rd.
Didn't you just say 53, though? Now you're contradicting yourself?
Well, I'm saying that I think the 53rd man's not on this roster right now.
Okay.
So,
well, all right, so real quick, with I might have missed it because you're going fast. Did you say Hall at all?
I
there?
did not. So Hall is a name that could work his way onto that list. Jenkins is a name that could work his way on the list. I also didn't say Anais Smith.
I did notice that. Anais Smith, I think, could be a practice squad candidate and still comes back to this team.
Right. I don't know how people are evaluating the returning capabilities of him. I would say that him getting absolutely crunched on the first return that he had the other night didn't. And I'm curious, like just for our the fan base and like our listeners here, how many people made it through that game? Like just out of a pure curiosity standpoint, 610-632-0975. You can text in. How far did you make it into that third preseason game? How watchable was that game for you? I watched the whole thing. I was here. We did post game. But I'm curious for all you out there, how far you made it into that game. And you can get on that 610-632-0975. I'd love to see the engagement we get on that one. But I got 3 guys for that last spot. Otherwise, they go outside for that last spot. It is 12:02, and I just got a text. Hey, man, I want to know what's going on in the NFL. All right? Shut up about your 53-man roster. I want to hear what Sean Rodman's got for you at the NFL Notes at noon. Hit the music, Robin.
All right, let's start with a little bit of quarterback notes with, well, the one that used to be here in Philadelphia, and now is going to be heading to Minnesota. Carson Wentz. So we got a little 1A, 1B here for the quarterback situation, at least. And it does involve some Eagles. Carson Wentz back in the league. Wentz worked out last week for the Vikings before the trade that Sam Howell was traded to Philadelphia, and now he takes his spot. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, Ray, but the trade for Sam Howell to the Eagles by the Vikings was announced at, I believe it was 11:16 a.m. yesterday. The agreement to bring Wentz back was at 11:18.
Wow. I mean, it's just one underwhelming Washington quarterback for another at this point.
Yeah,
Howell goes out the door, Wentz comes in the door.
Fun fact, they were together on the Washington Commanders in 2022.
Ah, very nice. Yes, how'd that work out for all parties involved?
Not so great.
Jaden Daniels, that's how it worked out for all of them. Yeah, Wentz, congrats on the new job. Congrats on the contract. I think my lasting memory of Wentz, this is very unfair because, yes, he is an essential part of the first Super Bowl title for this team. My lasting memory of Wentz may end up being his back being turned to Hurts after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, two things there for you. One, we might have to be playing who he played for Wentz in about a year or so, too. I know that's probably a little bit mean, but...
No. Let's go through it. Eagles, Commanders, Colts, Chiefs, right? That's what we got so far. Now Vikings?
Yeah.
Did I miss a stop along the way?
I don't think so.
How many more stops does he have? Over, under 1.5?
Ooh, under, because I think it's only one.
Over. He's got 2 more years.
Two?
Yeah. He's not going to be longer than a year. And either he plays well enough in Minnesota where he ends up with a job elsewhere, or he has another stop in a year, and then maybe 2 years from now, someone gives him a call. Ben DiNucci was at the airport after he got cut this past week. If Ben DiNucci can still get a call, Carson Wentz will still be able to get calls.
I don't know if I missed this. Did you say the Rams for Wentz?
Oh, I did not. There you go. See? Oh, man, we're going to have so much fun with that.
For 1B there, coming on in at number 19 for the NFL Top 100 this morning, Jalen Hurts. It's ranked, so I just wanted to throw that in there for you, too. Number 2, I don't know if you saw this over the weekend. During preseason football, I know you were busy with the Eagles preseason game 3. But Shiloh Sanders, the brother of Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, dude, come on.
Gets in a fight with tight end Zach Davidson, threw one, arguably 2 punches late in that preseason game, and Todd Bowles did not really like that. He said, you got to be better. It's basically called it childish.
Yeah.
And a day later, he was waived.
I get it. So I get other guys have thrown punches in the league before. But you're a guy fighting for a job. You're trying to keep yourself in that 53-man roster. What are we doing here? This has been tough because I had the NFL Notes at noon on Friday. Talk about Shedeur. Now talking about Shiloh. Like, I want the Sanders to succeed. Don't throw the punch. You're on the roster bubble. I understand in the heat of the moment you make a mistake, but you're going to pay for that mistake by being released. That's how this works. I also saw someone I can't believe he was ejected for that. You can't believe he was ejected for that. He threw a punch. What are we doing here? Figure it out. I'm begging you. All right, what else you got?
What else we have is, Liam Cohn had a very bad...
Oh, geez, this guy. Again? Again?
He had a very bad opening press conference.
Okay.
And this is going to come back to the Philadelphia Eagles as well, because I don't know if you saw this story via The Athletic, but he had some coaches reach out to him after that bad first press conference, and one of them being the Eagles' very own Nick Sirianni, giving him some advice, told him to play well, basically, have him coach well, and they'll shut everybody up, prove everybody wrong was his message.
I guess there's no one better to deliver that than Sirianni?
There's one other person he did talk to, too. I just don't know if you're going to like that name.
Who did he talk to?
Dan Campbell.
Oh, no, I was not the anti-Campbell.
I know.
You know.
It was Bill. I know he probably wouldn't like that. He said, go listen to Sirianni, not Dan Campbell. That's what he's going to say.
Yeah, I mean, Sirianni, probably there's no one better to give him that advice than Sirianni. Credit where credit's due on that one. The thing that really strikes me is Baker Mayfield basically saying, we're going to see if it works out for Liam Cohn. That's supposed to be your boy. He said that on Part of My Take where he was like, yeah, we're going to see, what happens with him. I don't know about him as a head coach. Baker, who are you? Come on.
Well, do you remember at the end when he left Tampa Bay, he said he was staying and then didn't?
It was a terrible, terrible departure, for sure. But still, Baker, you had a career renaissance. You don't think Liam Cohn had anything to do with that?
Baker's kind of the ex-girlfriend here that's a little salty still.
Yeah, maybe just, But the fact that he said that also shows you there's doubt there. I don't know. You could recover from a bad opening presser. Duval was really bad. Was really bad. Like, that was... It still makes me cringe. Doing it myself, actually, I cringed right there at myself.
Yeah, I did too. I
That
was going
hurt.
to let you have it.
That hurt. No, it was pretty bad. I mean, it was a good impression, but
It was a very good impression.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was very bad, though. It was so good that it was bad.
Yeah, I was going to let you kind of
That felt
die out
bad.
there.
All right, well, the NFL notes at noon. That's all we got?
That's all we got.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good stuff. Now, in an hour, we are all waiting to see the debut of the Rodman Report coming up at 1 o'clock. A lot of pressure to replace what went from one of the great segments of all time to one of the worst ideas I've ever had, the Gun at 1. It was poorly executed by the end there, you know? You start talking about Notre Dame too much, it hurt. It hurt. You know, got to keep more pertinent than that. Something more relevant, you know? No offense.
Yeah, he's going to tattoo ideas.
Yeah. But we were excited for that one coming up in an hour. I'm curious. I did ask this question right before we got the news, the NFL notes at noon. How many people made it through that entire third preseason game? This is like a little consumer report here. You know, I can't imagine it was too many. But I'm curious to get the feedback on the text line, 610-632-0975. We flirted with this idea today with the Phillies, and we'll reset the show coming up. Can the Phillies bury the Mets? Are the Mets already buried? I've told you before, I'll tell you again coming up what the line is for me to basically just declare this NL East thing over. He's Sean Rodman. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Bo, Bill
Sean Robin, one, you're getting compliments in the YouTube chat. We got a MBD saying Sean Rodman greater than Dennis Rodman. So high praise.
That's
for
very
the
high
NFL
praise.
Notes at noon. I disagree, but it's nice of them to acknowledge you. Hello, I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the midday show. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Dennis, I mean, you just got to realize, like, Dennis Rodman, Hall of Famer. Like, really, probably best rebounder of all time. Also, like, the whole Last Dance, the story of him going to Vegas for 48 hours, because, again, how young I am, I didn't live through that timeline. It's kind of, like, inspiring. Just think about how good you have to be at basketball for them mid-season. Be like, yeah, you need a break. Go to Vegas for 48 hours. We'll see you later in the week.
Not that I was alive at that time, but one of my favorite teams to kind of learn about over the history is those Bad Boys Pistons.
Oh, yeah. That 30 for 30 is tremendous.
That's my favorite 30 for 30.
Yeah. It's wow, look at us having common ground on something there. I love that.
Wow, who would have thought?
Yeah,
Not me.
Not me. Certainly not me. But we got some news that just slipped on through that NFL Notes at noon because we got it like right before noon. I'm seeing this from CBS Sports, and this is Matt Zenitz, who is a national NFL and college football senior reporter for CBS Sports. Eagles are waiving offensive lineman Kenyon Green. And he was obviously the offensive lineman who was a part of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, which I don't think anyone expected him to make the roster. I didn't know if maybe they were going to be able, injury-wise, to try to do a little like, hey, he's hurt and stash. Really, that C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade was just about money.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, not just about money, but partially about money and also about getting him out of here. It was really just about C.J. Gardner-Johnson not being on this team. Was really what it was about. Like, not having to spend the money and also not having him around. Because you got nothing.
Yeah, it was interesting to see whether they would have just stashed him on the IR for the whole season. You don't hear from him. Or maybe the injury necessarily wasn't as bad, so they waived, or going to waive him, I guess.
Do right by him to give him another opportunity? I don't know, man. I hope, I told this, I looked, you were not here, no, it was Brennan. I looked Andrew DeCecco into his eyes and said to him, I was laying like this, I was like, listen, man, I've never needed you to be more right about something than Drew Makuba. I have never needed that more in my life than for you to be right about Drew Makuba. And
I don't think you're the only one.
They need it badly. I understand people didn't like CJGJ. I like playmaker back there. And I still am very, very leery of a safety room where the best safety is Reed Blankenship. But hopefully Drew Makuba proves Andrew DeCecco right, and we all have a wonderful season in that secondary. Now, I do want to get back to this Phillies topic because we asked you about whether or not you still respect the Mets as contenders. 610-632-0975. Whether the respect is still there. They've played 60 games basically at like 14 games under 500, like bad. They played bad baseball recently. But there's still that little piece of me that I can't let go of what happened last year. Can't let go of what I've seen at Citi Field. I can't let go of the top four of their lineup. I can't let go of what their pitching staff could do to this Phillies team. And I'm curious, on the text line 610-632-0975, I still have the respect for the Mets. Does that respect exist for people out there on our text line at 610-632-0975? You can also call in. We will take your phone call on that as well. But I want to give Sean Robin the opportunity to pull up the text on whether or not we have the respect. What do we got on the text line?
All right, well, Norm from Mayfair checking in. Because of last season, you got to feel uneasy with the Mets. Lindor always plays great against the Phillies, and we're going to miss our ace Wheeler. Nola and Luzardo just cannot hit a wall for them.
Wow. All right, so that's two in the respect. That's another respect of the
Respecting
Mets.
the Mets. And another one, here's another one for you. This is Mike from Turnersville. Mets only have a 1.5 game lead over the Reds. I would rather face the Mets than the Reds. Want no part of Reds starting pitching. Also, the Reds hit left-handing pitching, but struggle against right-handing pitching. Mets pitching is very suspect still. So
now we've galaxy brained this to the point where it's not about Phillies Mets at all. We have to start rooting for the Mets. Not tonight, obviously. Not tomorrow night. Not Wednesday night. But what was that texter's name?
That was Mike from Turnersville.
Okay, so Mike from Turnersville is saying starting on Thursday, we are going to root for the Mets, so it's the Mets instead of the Reds.
Yes.
So, I will say, of the two teams,
Who would you rather see? It's not like the Phillies have had great success against the Reds this year.
I
either.
know. And the Reds' starting pitching worries me more than the Mets.
I actually do think Mike from Turnersville has a point.
He might have a point on that one. I would, yeah.
That's also assuming
Much
that
as I still,
they would win the first round, depending how all the seeding matches up.
right. Well, yeah, they have to figure that out. Well, that's like likely the 6. Because
Yes.
I don't see. It's going to be that 6 team is again going to be similar in the ilk to like that Diamondbacks team just kind of backed its way in. Like that 6 team is going to be either the Reds really catching fire or the Mets are going to back their way in. Like that's going to be either one, and they're going to be well off the path of whoever 4 and 5 were. Because 4 right now, 4 and 5 is a battle of whatever happens between the Cubs and whoever doesn't win the NL West, which is a great weekend out there out west for the Padres Dodgers, and that is not. The more they can, and they're not playing each other again this season, so the more that those two teams can get beat up and the Phillies can keep themselves positioned in that 2 spot is good. But I'm very intrigued to see that. I did see something on our YouTube chat as we're having this conversation about the Mets as contenders. And I ask you that question, whether you still respect the Mets at 610-632-0975. Brian Swanson, at Ray Dunn, you still a Bryson Stott believer yet? Are you a Bryson Stott believer yet? Hey, Bryson Stott's been doing what? Playing in a platoon, right?
Yes.
So he's been overexposed against right-handed pitching. So the platoon's working because he looks really good right now hitting the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Brian. I am a believer in Bryson Stott in a platoon. I am. You could take that one. You could sign me up for it. I love Brian. We're having this Stott back and forth. He tweets me every time Stott does something well. I like Bryson Stott, but I like the way they're using Bryson Stott right now because he's seeing the pitching that's most advantageous for him right now.
Tim Kirchner on the morning show, too, was complimenting kind of the outfield and all the platoons working and how it can work.
It can. It's a rotation now, by the way. It's not a platoon in the outfield. It's a
I
rotation.
know, I know.
We have an outfield rotation.
Which I don't understand how it worked out yesterday in the rotation.
Yeah. I guess it was one of those, hey, Bader's going to play. And
Actually, I was more so less of Bader and more so of Castellanos versus Kepler with the numbers versus...
right. Castellanos had a hit in his first at-bat.
Yeah, so it worked out.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if Marsh, with the way he's hitting right now, ends up losing a game there, and they go Kepler, Bader, Castellanos.
Yeah, it could happen.
It's a fun game. I like when the morning show plays What's the Outfield Tonight. It's a fun game. I enjoy that. It's one of my favorite. They do it like 9:15 every morning. It's a fun game. We can look at that later on. We'll play our own version of Who's in the Outfield Tonight. Coming up, we got the Wheeler news over the weekend, and I saw just the long-term projection, people trying to figure out what happens from here. I'm curious the way people see their future projecting out in the rotation from a year from now and how they'll handle their business in the offseason as we look towards what this team will look like beyond 2025. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles are starting to waive some players. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. According to Matt Zenit of CBS Sports, the Eagles are waiving offensive lineman Kenyon Green. He was a first-round pick back in 2022. He's made 23 career starts and was acquired earlier in the offseason in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, and now official. Well, it will be soonly official that he'll be gone from the Philadelphia Eagles. They've also made a few trades over the weekend as well. They trade for quarterback Sam Howell from the Minnesota Vikings and a 6th-round pick for a 5th and a 7th. According to reports, though, the Eagles also have reunited with tackle Fred Johnson in exchange for a 7th, and that actually is now official as well. Same with the trade with the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles are sending Darian Kinnard to the Packers for a future 6th-round pick. They'll have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. for its initial 53-man roster, so stay tuned for who could get cut tomorrow or even today. The Phillies received some bad news over the weekend. We'll talk about it next with Zach Wheeler officially being done for the season as he recovers from blood clots in his throwing arm. The Phillies hold a 7-game lead at the top of the division over the Mets, and they face the Mets tonight with Cransford Sanchez on the mound for the Phils and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. This update is sponsored by your local Can-Am dealer. Right now through October 31st, take advantage of Can-Am factory sales on select 2025 Can-Am side-by-side or ATV vehicles, I should say. Conditions apply. Visit your local dealer. Coming up.
Hall of Fame sports writer Jason Stark.
This has been
falling for rage bait in the YouTube chat. I think they got me.
Oh, God.
I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here on the Midday Show. You're tuned in to 97.5 The Fanatic. Our 12 o'clock hour is brought to you by Service First HVAC, offering 0% financing for 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. I saw Money Mar in our YouTube chat saying that book it today, that the Mets are winning the division. And I think I'm falling for rage bait here. I would like to put it out there. 2-3 in this series up at Citi Field. I'll declare it over.
If the Phillies take 2 or 3.
Yes.
Even with the 4-game series next week? Or
they will be up 8 with 4 remaining against the Mets.
The Mets were to win all 4 of them, then it would be 4
games. And then they'd have to make up 4 more games.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a steep to climb there.
Yeah, because it would be after this. I think we said there were 35 games left going into the weekend. So we're down to 32.
Yes.
3 more against the Mets, you're down to 29. You have an 8-game lead with 29 games to play. I understand what happened in 2007. There's a reason why what happened in 2007 was so incredible. The Phillies would have to play, even if they went after this 3-game set and had an 8-game lead. If the Phillies were 14 and 15 in those last 29 games, the Mets would have to play at a 22 and 7 rate to make up those 8 games.
And you mentioned the numbers earlier from, June, July?
Yeah, they're 24 and 37 in the last 61 since they were 21 games over 500. I think I'll be ready to call it. Thursday is when I'll be ready to call it, which is what we said on last Monday, a week ago today, when Kevin Cooney and I had that conversation here. Wait till I get back from New York, and I'll have a take. Once I get back from Citi Field, that's when I'll be ready to declare anything over. And at that point, I thought I was going to the game tomorrow night. Instead, I'm going Wednesday night. And, of course, Wednesday night, I'm getting the young phenom against Taiwan Walker. Like, it's almost like it's scripted that the Phillies are going to take the first 2, and I'm going to see them the only game they lose. And I might be back in the ballpark Thursday night for the Braves game. I might be getting on one of these kicks where I just start going to the ballpark again.
Is your record still good?
Yeah, I'm 9-4, I think, right now.
I'm just making sure.
I got made fun of. My color commentator over the weekend for the Temple games, yesterday, Riley McHugh, does a tremendous job. Former collegiate soccer player herself. She was making fun of me because I had all of the games I've called at Temple, like organized on a spreadsheet. Like I had all the way down. I also have my record there, the same way I keep track of baseball games. Temple, I'm like 65, 49, 3, something like that. Favor the Owls. For Phillies games this year, though, I am 9-4 going into Wednesday night's game. So just for the people that doubt me here. But yes, 2-3 to me, it's over. Take 2-3 up in New York, it's over. But with the Wheeler news over the weekend, I want to get into the long-term planning of what's going on here with this rotation. And there was a column in the Inquirer today from Marcus Hayes. The headline here, Zach Wheeler's surgery and long-term absence resets the Phillies' immediate and long-term future. To me, there's 2 questions that have been answered here, and it's that Andrew Painter should plan to be here the start of 2026. They should give the guy a chance to sink or swim, to open up next season, while also bringing in someone of the Joe Ross ilk, not Joe Ross specifically, but someone that's been a swing man before that has been able to transition from the bullpen back to the starting rotation as just kind of the emergency plan behind him for the opening of the season. They're going to have to get organizational depth in terms of starting pitching, just in case the Painter thing doesn't work out. But I think there should be a plan in place for him to be a part of the starting rotation to begin next season. And on top of that, Ranger Suarez, even when he struggled, I believe I was saying this, so I don't think this is anything that's changed from my perspective, but he should be given a qualifying offer for him to either accept or decline, depending on the way his market looks. Just to build in that insurance for you for your rotation a year from now, because of what you got in the Zach Wheeler news. The Wheeler news, obviously, like a week ago, you heard me when we got it. Like, I was in a bad way talking about just where this Phillies team was, how upset I was with what had transpired, obviously the concern for him, Looks like he's on the mend. Obviously put out that statement over the weekend about, healing up and finding get back to the mound. And you worry about him first, and then obviously baseball, everything secondary. But in terms of his ability to, be that pitcher, and when he comes back, I have my questions. Dave Dombrowski seems confident in it. Zach Wheeler seems confident. That's great. I have my questions about it, whether it would be next year, too. Because Merrill Kelly's been the case study for this. Merrill Kelly in 2021, when he worked his way back, was not the same pitcher right off the jump. So I have my questions about what would happen next. But for me, the two things that have become crystallized, the Phillies should plan on having Painter a part of that rotation to start next season, with obviously a built-in backup plan of some guy, again, Joe Ross-esque. Congrats, Taijuan Walker's in that rotation again. Walker will play out the entire 4 years of his contract pretty much in the rotation. And Ranger Suarez should get a qualifying offer from the Phillies. That's what this news that we got answered to me, because the 6 to 8 month window here, 6 months, all right, we're talking about the beginning of the season. 8 months, you're talking about pushing into the first month. And I'm not going to rush a guy back, obviously, from this. I don't know what exactly he will look like coming back from this. So that's the answers that were crystallized for me from what happened over the weekend, the news that you got over the weekend about Zach Wheeler. Now, we have some breaking news from our Birds Insider.
Yeah, from our very own Birds Insider, Andrew Checo, saying that E.J. Jenkins will be waived from the Eagles.
All right, so he was not on the 53 that I went through.
No?
I assume if he's able to get through waivers, no one wants him.
I assume they try to bring him back on the practice squad.
Yeah, I'd assume that's the case. They like E.J. Jenkins. You mentioned the blocking tight end side of things. I just think they like Granson. I think that's kind of where it comes down to. That Kylan Granson made an impression on them. Looks like that's probably a good sign for him to be the inside track, to be that third tight end on this team. But E.J. Jenkins, he had a couple, at least one drop on Friday. And I think another drop earlier in the preseason where I was like, not good for a guy where they brought in plenty of tight end competition.
It was a bad drop on Friday, too.
Yeah. We were locked in. Did we get anyone acknowledging how far they got into that game?
No. To me, that gives us a sign that nobody
wants to admit that they didn't get through that game
at all.
Yeah, which the Phillies were on. That's a very acceptable. That's a late season game for them. I was just curious because I know more people made the trip to MetLife than I thought would. Like, I did not think that it was going to be as many people as it was in MetLife, and it seemed like they had a solid Eagles crowd for that Friday night. But I can't say that I'm too surprised that a lot of people did not check out that game. Coming up, the Inquirer, I mentioned just the column they put together on the Phillies. Our good friend Olivia Reiner put together a list of questions, the biggest question for each Eagles position group. Go through them. Maybe we have a different question for each position group as we look towards roster cutdown day tomorrow. If our Birds Insider gives us any more information on what's happening with the team, Checker reporting that the Eagles waived tight end E.J. Jenkins. If we get any more information, we'll let you know. Roster cutdown day for the Birds tomorrow. Phillies open up a big 3-game set tonight with the Mets up at Citi Field. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Howie's making some deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Birds Insider update. The Eagles have officially agreed to 3 deals yesterday, and reportedly they're going to be waiving a couple more players. Let's start with Sam Howell. He is going to be the team's third quarterback and gives the team a little bit more depth at that position, as he was traded for a 5th and a 7th, and the Eagles also are getting a 6th-round pick with that as well. And he could slide to number 2 in the meantime while McKee is dealing with a fractured thumb. And it is unknown if he will be ready for week 1, but according to reports, he is not a candidate to land on the IR. That is at least for Tanner McKee. Later in the day, the Eagles also agreed to a 7th. They send a 7th-round pick to the Jaguars for Fred Johnson, the tackle that was here in Philadelphia. He had 6 starts last year between both tackle positions. He'll become the main backup. Then also the Eagles agreed to send offensive lineman Darian Kinnard to the Packers for a 2027 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. to finalize its initial 53-man roster, and so far we know Kenyon Green will reportedly be waived, according to CBS Sports' Matt Zenitz. He says that Green will be waived by the Eagles. Green was originally brought in with the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, Search 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Way through the 12 o'clock hour. I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you. Some more news from the Eagles side of things. Wade running back Kelly and Robinson. I think Robinson ends up getting waived. Cade Steele had that one. Just looking out for my guy, Cade.
He's
Owls
with
are everywhere.
NJ.com, right?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Looking out for Cade. Great guy.
Great guy.
Always love when I hear his voice in one of the pressers. It feels like I'm right back at Temple.
Yeah, it does.
Like, he's asking a question of, like, Rod Carey's coaching staff. Like, just, excuse me? Just kind of, it's great. Great. See him reporting on the Eagles is awesome. I'm very happy for the guy. So, really cool to see him breaking some news. Unfortunate for Robinson, he doesn't make the team, but Caden Steele for the story on that one. As we continue to get closer to roster cutdown days, coming up at 1:25, Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and Philly Voice will join the show and break down everything going on with the Birds. And I mentioned it leading into the break, but I'm curious because this is something we'll get to the biggest question at each Eagles position group coming up. As Olivia Reiner put that out in the Inquirer today. The Trey Hendrickson trade. I was so curious to see how many people would do it, and we had a good back and forth going on the YouTube chat. But I'd love to hear what we have in terms of people wanting to make the deal for Trey Hendrickson. And to reset this one, earlier on in the show, this is Bill Barnwell's doing, all right? I'm sorry, Bill Colarulo. I'm doing a fake trade right here, but this was a fake trade that I saw online. I didn't make it up myself. Bill Colarulo, I'm sorry, all right? We don't do fake trades. I'm doing a fake trade, all right? Trey Hendrickson comes to the Eagles in exchange for Jalix Hunt, a 2026 third-round pick, and a conditional pick in 2027. I do it. Especially if you can get him on a deal similar to Daniil Hunter's. Again, I'm stealing that idea from Chilcapati because he put that out there, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's palatable. 30-year-old that doesn't get a 5-year extension, that just gets like really 2 contract-heavy years where he gets a lot of cash up front a year, restructure it to make it work this year, pay him big for next year, and then down the line you still have the flexibility to pay your big money guys, your young defensive guys coming up. I get it. Jalix Hunt, and I saw my guy Seamus Clancy arguing against this on Twitter, like, no, I wouldn't do it. Hunt feels like a diamond in the rough type guy, and I get it. I understand why people would be against giving up a young pass rusher, but I am looking to maximize this moment right now, and they do not have enough at the edge rusher position. They just don't. Like, Josh Uche got the night off for preseason game number 3. Uche making you feel like you have enough there at the edge rusher position?
No, he's not making you feel enough. You have enough there. Yeah, he's had, 12 and a half sacks a number of years ago, but that was about it. He hasn't done anything. He had 0 sacks after he got traded to Kansas City last year. He's had single-digit sacks every other season. He's had some impressive answers in press conferences, and based off some of those answers, it sounds like Bill Belichick did trust him a lot in New England, but you put up 1 season right now, and he hasn't kind of shown that in, 2-3 seasons now? It's been a number of years that we haven't seen that from Uche. Yeah, it sounds like he could be in a better fit here in Philadelphia, so we're hoping, but I can't take that as something that I am necessarily going to be thrilled about. And when we came into camp, we were thinking that Ojulari was going to be the third guy, not Uche.
And either one of them, like Uche being the one that got the night off, it's like that doesn't say a lot about Ojulari that he had to play in the preseason game number 3. Patrick Johnson was the best guy he had the entire preseason from that position. And Antoine Ryland Powell. Yes, I combined the two of them right there. I did Ryland. Or not. I was doing Raoul Island. It was Ryland Powell was what I was going for there. He flashed in the second half of that game on Friday night. Not that the audience knows because, again, we asked the question. Nobody wants to admit the fact they turned it off after like the first series or had it on passively. I love the comment from Ross Tucker late in that game. Like, for those of us down the shore watching this one, it's like, yeah, it's on while you're standing there at Keenan's, but are you really focused on what's happening there in the fourth quarter? Like,
for those people that are out at the bar, no.
The people weren't focused on it. It's okay to admit it. No, you were out at, might have been on the big screen. Honestly, from what I heard, my sources over at Tacos and Tequila was that the Phillies got the screen treatment. That was what I heard from North Wildwood. Now, my sources could be wrong on that one because it didn't seem like they were paying much attention to the game either. I don't know what they were watching, but that's what I heard. Because the Phillies deserve primary screen treatment when it's a third preseason game. To me, that's A1 billing right there. I understand that. So I understand why people didn't watch, but in terms of the edge rusher position, the best you got was guys who were at the edge of the roster in terms of production, which doesn't say a lot about what you got there. So I would make the Trey Hendrickson deal. That would be the deal I would make. I Hunt, a third-round pick, conditional pick, sign me up. Trey Hendrickson. You know what? I'm going to Cincinnati at the end of the week. I'll drive him back from Cincinnati. I'll fly with them from Cincinnati. Whatever you need to do for me to escort Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati back to Philadelphia, I'll make sure it happens for you. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. Thanks for doing that. I know you're doing a great service to Philadelphia, too.
I would sign up for that one Absolutely. And I see he's way too expensive right now. Figure it out. Again, I'm not telling you. If this comes like he has to get a 4 or 5 year contract, all right, understand that. The expense is there. If they can work something out where he makes big money in a short burst here and comes here to win a Super Bowl, I'm good. I'm not saying he's taking a discount. I'm just saying the number of years might be condensed. If they go 4 or 5 years, all right, fine. You can talk me out of it. But if it's something in the idea of the Danielle Hunter deal, I'm in on that. So that's where I would go with this one. Mentioned this story in the Inquirer today. Biggest question facing every Eagles position group so far. Our first question here in the Inquirer. Can Jalen Hurts prove that he's a top 100? No, I'm just kidding. Can Jalen Hurts do what it takes to win again? The biggest question for me right now in that quarterback room is the health of Tanner McKee. When will Tanner McKee be healthy, and what does it mean for the depth of the position? I don't really ask questions of Jalen Hurts at this point. That's beyond me. I want Hurts to improve in rhythm passing, get the ball out quicker. But again, he was Super Bowl MVP last year. I'll wait until I actually see games this season before I start picking him apart again. Can Saquon Barkley continue his clean bill of health after rushing for a total of 2,504 yards in 2024? That's the big question for everyone with what this offense could be and what they could be this season. So I agree with that question for the running back. Is the Eagles offense ready for a bigger emphasis on the passing game for the wide receiver room? To me, they have to be. Like, you look at that wide receiver room, the only reason they wouldn't be ready for that is if A.J. Brown's not healthy. I think we all saw the warm-ups. If you didn't see the warm-ups, he was warming up at MetLife. Looked healthy to me. Looked like he's going to be good to go for week 1. The tight end room, can Dallas Goedert stay healthy in a contract year? I want to ask, are we going to get the Dallas Goedert year? When are we going to get the Dallas Goedert year? Like, we've all waited for that year to pop. He's been a good tight end.
He's been a good tight end.
Everything he does for you, he's a very solid tight end.
I don't necessarily think you're still going to get it this year. There's just so many weapons ahead of him on the pecking order that I don't think you get it this year. I don't know if you get it in Philadelphia.
And I don't think you're going to get it in Philadelphia. If you don't get it this year, you're not getting it in Philadelphia. And the last one here for the offense is the offensive line. Can Landon Dickerson return to prior form following his meniscus surgery? Yeah, I think if we're asking, like, the offensive line is just a question of what's there if they don't have as good a clean a bill of health as they did previously. Like, they had Fred Johnson step in at times last year, and that helped. And it's good to have him back.
But Steen's step in at times and it help as well.
And now Steen's the starter here. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it, this team's so good, we're just talking about health. It's crazy. Coming up, we'll get the first ever edition of the Rodman Report at 1 o'clock. Very excited to wherever this brings us. We'll finish out here with some of the biggest questions facing the Birds. 10 days, man. We're so close. Real football. No, not preseason football. Real football. I can't wait for it. Eagles and Cowboys coming up on September 4th. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it to the midday show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles have agreed to 3 deals from yesterday and today, now officially coming in 2 of those today. Let's start with the quarterback. They received Sam Howell and a 6th-round pick for a 5th and a 7th, and they've also reunited with tackle Fred Johnson in exchange for a 7th-round pick. Then the Eagles will also be sending offensive lineman Darian Kennard to Green Bay for a future 6th-round pick. And according to CBS Sports' Matt Zenit, Kenyon Green will be waived by the team. Green was waived. Green was originally brought in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade earlier this spring. The Phillies are back in action tonight. They hold a 7-game lead over the Mets, and they're facing off the Mets tonight with Christopher Sanchez on the mound for the Phils and Kodai Senga for the Mets. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. Phillies also, according to the Athletics' Matt Gelb, will be heading to Iowa next summer in the Field of Dreams game. They'll take on the Minnesota Twins in that game in next August. We'll keep you updated once all the tickets and everything like that and the exact date. The schedule for the Phillies and MLB will be released tomorrow. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic. You're tuned in to WBEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Coming up at 1:25, we will be joined by Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and Philly Voice. Before we get back to the Birds conversation and whatever the Rodman report is at 1 o'clock, because the people are clamoring to know, wow, the gun at 1, gone. Rodman report, what will that look like? Gotten a few very nervous DMs, some people very excited, one person that thought we were having Dennis Rodman on the show. People all fired up for this. I just got to say, screw you, Paul Skeens. Like, it shouldn't look that easy. It's really bothering me. And it really bothers me because I want Christopher Sanchez to have a chance down the stretch here. And Skeens is like the one bad start against the Brewers that I saw like the glimmer of light. So annoying, man. Like, I just drive me nuts. I saw that 7 innings, 7 strikeouts. Not even his best stuff. He's just shutting the team out, only allowing 3 hits. I was really enjoying Ranger Suarez yesterday, but just kind of screw you, Paul Skeens. I don't know. You haven't been tapped in to what we got going on the midday show here. This is the show of Christopher Sanchez winning Cy Young. I know a lot of people have gotten fired up about the idea of Kyle Schwarber winning MVP, and that's great. Christopher, I saw the gateway opening here. I was hoping that it would open where Skeens would start to fall apart. He's reaching a career high in innings. Like, maybe it would just be like, oh, yeah, like he pitches like a normal pitcher, like maybe to like a 3.50 ERA the rest of the way. It's like, oh, he tapered off at the end, and Christopher Sanchez ended up finishing strong for the Phillies that actually made the postseason. It was like anchoring them without Zach Wheeler. And then I watched that Paul Skeens start, and it's like, all right, never mind, not going to happen. On top of the award thing, did you see the new award in baseball, Sean Robb?
I don't think so.
They're going to have a reliever award starting in 2026.
Oh, I did see
baseball writers adding that, which makes me ask, if you could add an award to sports, what award would you add?
Oh, well, could you differentiate the most valuable quarterback, best quarterback award?
That's a good one. Yeah.
So we don't have to have a quarterback every year as the MVP?
Quarterback of the year?
Just quarterback of the year. So this way MVP can go to maybe anyone but a quarterback.
Yeah. Most valuable non-quarterback. The MVNQB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Sign me up. Who's signing up for the MVNQB? Most valuable non-quarterback.
We're going to have to work on the letter.
Yeah. Most valuable player that is not a quarterback. The MVPNTQB.
Yeah, I think you made it worse there.
I'm trying to work on this. I'm trying to make it better as we go along.
We'll workshop it. We'll have to workshop it.
That's a good one, though. That's a really good answer from you on the awards you would add to sports. That's a very serious answer, too. It's a very like a well-done answer from you on that one. Kind of disappointing.
Well, you wanted me to give you a bad one? Is that what you're looking for? Why? What's your idea? You got to...
I don't know. I would want like something just kind of out of left field. Like, I'd want to add like, this feels like almost like a Bill Simmons idea.
But didn't they just add in like a best offensive lineman coming up too?
Right. Yeah. No. That's football. Again, that makes sense. It's a good answer. I'm not necessarily looking for a good answer here. I'm looking for like a wild answer here. Like, I think like the NBA, like
best celebration.
Like the most valuable Robin, where it's like it's not the best player on the team, but it's the second best player on the team. Like Jaylen Brown wins the most valuable Robin.
Right.
No one would ever sign up for that. Sports would never bring it into existence. But like those type of awards would be. I'd love to see those. The 7th man of the year. It's like you're not actually the first one off the bench, but you're pretty good. Like you're valuable to your team. Like those would be the type of awards I'm looking for. Like instead of the Cy Young, like the.
What about like an energy award?
Oh, all right. Vibes Guy of the Year.
Vibes Guy of the Year?
You know I would definitely sign up for a Vibes Guy of the Year award.
Yeah, I know.
That would be good for the writers, though. Like, the Writers Association, I'm surprised hasn't brought that one up. Because the Vibes Guy of the Year kind of plays into, like, the Good Guy of the Year thing, where it's like, oh, this guy's good with the media. Like, the Vibes Guy kind of has to be the one that has to talk to the media and have a good relationship with the media because you're not good enough to be a jerk. So, like, that's why you're there. Good for the vibes. I'm kind of surprised we don't have one of those yet. Like there is the good guy award. Like
You want to call it like the Garrett Stubbs Award too?
No. There's just the vibes guy. We don't even have to go chief vibes officer. Just the vibes guy award.
I didn't know how far we wanted to go
No,
with it.
no, I don't want to go that far with it. But I'd love like really dumb submissions. That would be a good, fun little side here. Like you're the dumbest award you could possibly come up with for sports. Because I have a lot in my brain. Yours was actually a really good one, splitting the quarterback and the MVP. That should happen. So I appreciate you for that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You get in on that one at 610-632-0975. Now, Sean Rodman. People wanted to hear what it was going to be. I'm very, very excited. Ray wants participation trophies. That's good by you, Colby, on the YouTube chat. People are very excited for the 1 o'clock hour here with the Rodman Report. Tell us what we're getting into here.
All right, well, we're going to go. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but we're going to get into it a little bit more in depth with the Phillies pitching staff. And I'm using pitching staff as a whole here because of, well, now Zach Wheeler's down. He's done for the year. Aaron Nola pitched well over the weekend. And, well, if you don't go with Aaron Nola in the playoffs, though, you're going to have 3 lefties in a row come playoff time in your 1, 2, and 3 starter. And for those that may not have seen Paul Casella's tweet over the weekend, only one team in the last 25 years has used a left-hander in starters in games 1, 2, and 3 in the playoffs. The 2029 Phillies. Only 11 teams have done that ever. None have won the World Series. Yeah, so there's something there. But what I kind of wanted to dive into there is more so, what if Aaron Nola doesn't pitch well the rest of the year? And you can't throw him as a starter, and you have to put Luzardo as a starter. What happens to your bullpen? Where do you trust the left-handed? Where do you trust those left-handers come? Strahm and Banks? Yeah, Banks was phenomenal yesterday. He's been great all season. Strahm, I know that he doesn't have the hard-throwing stuff, but has been successful here. A little bit of a down year for him, but they don't have that. They have Alvarado right now, but come playoff time, they're not going to have a hard-throwing left-hander if Luzardo is a starter in a game 3 or 4.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. And it's looking more than likely if they get to the NLCS, you're going to start Luzardo regardless. Like
yes.
You've kind of hit that point with this starting rotation, unless you really want to go with...
Do you really believe in Taijuan Walker enough?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Does Andrew Painter somehow flash in the next month for you to justify bringing him up?
No.
I would say no as well. But your left-handers now in the bullpen come playoff time. We kind of slotted Luzardo into that bullpen role.
I know.
When Wheeler was here, and we haven't necessarily dove into it. And it's a bit more of a concern than anyone's really gone into. When you talk about the starters, your 1 and 2 punch is still going to be great. You believe with Sanchez and Suarez.
Okay, yeah, you've bought the Suarez bounce back over the last 2 games. Yeah, okay.
I've bought it right now. Yes, his velocity from the last couple of years is
right. He's back. He's back velocity wise, which is nice, and he's missing bats again. So he looks like himself over the last 2 starts.
Yes.
I will always be a little concerned in the second half. Also, a tiny thing that you mentioned because you brought up Taijuan there. Didn't end up imploding in that game.
No.
There is a slight concern for me. Slight. Ever so slight. That he is now hitting that threshold of innings where he had previously in his career, where he gets to the second half of his season and taper off. As that first inning started, I was like, oh no, we're getting delayed second half Taijuan. There was just a little bit. Because he's another guy that's traditionally a fader. That he kind of just fades to the end of the season. It obviously eats innings, pitches a lot of innings. There's a reason why those guys exist. He's better than a guy that just doesn't get the job done at all during the season. But I was a little concerned about that. But you bring up a good point with the Luzardo thing. I got to the point last week where I would be okay with the 1, 2, 3 being lefties in terms of the rotation, because then you're just going to set up a team for a right-handed heavy lineup that'll have to end up facing a right-handed heavy bullpen. So it ends up at some point where they're going to have to make the adjustments, and you're just going to have to get guys out regardless. So I'm okay with it. Nola's role on a postseason roster in which he's not a starter is very limited. Is like mop-up time limited. Which also leads to the question of, if he is not good the rest of the season, would they start him anyways because he's got pedigree and they're like, he's on this roster, he's going to be a part of this? Like, it almost seems like that would be the case. Like, you remember the end of last year, Ranger was not exactly great, and it was still like, you know what, against the Mets, go get him. You got him. Like, you're going to go pitch this final game of the season, potential, final game of the season, go get him. I think that would be an NLCS thing for them. I don't think they would... there's a chance if he doesn't pitch well the rest of the season, he's not on the NLDS roster. NLCS roster, I think he'd be on because they would try and throw him out there in Game 4, regardless of whatever form he's in.
At that point, I agree with you in the Aaron Nola essence.
But yeah, the left-handed situation for them, again, it goes back to what Alvarado, the situation you put him in. Banks, I feel good about what he is for this team. Strom, I'd love to see him get worked less down the stretch here, keep him fresh the rest of the way. I understand it's tough to do that when you're still battling for division, still battling for seeding, but Alvarado's back. I know it was not encouraging yesterday, but love to see some of those innings be like kind of dwindled down for Strom on this one. But you bring up an interesting point about the way this bullpen looks. I still, if I have it my way, and I mentioned this the second segment, if I had my dream setup the rest of the way, Nola bounces back to form. Suarez is solid. My rotation going into the NLDS is Sanchez, Nola, Suarez. And then I can have Luzardo deployed as a bullpen arm for that first series. In the second series, more than likely, he's making that fourth start. Or you end up keeping Taiwan on that roster. Taiwan makes that fourth start. You just have Luzardo as a weapon in the bullpen throughout. That would be like my perfect idealistic scenario. Is it realistic scenario? I'm asking for a lot of things to go right, so probably not.
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up was more so the devil's advocate part of it. And two, Luzardo in the bullpen sounds great in theory with he throws the ball hard, he's got strikeout, swing and miss stuff too. And I don't know how you would do with coming in with runners on already.
Clean inning. Only clean inning.
Clean inning.
Clean inning. Your fireman is going to be one of either Strom or Banks. Banks looked good yesterday coming in a very, very stressful situation. Strom has done it before. It has to be one of those two in stressful situations. You cannot put Luzardo. I know he thinks he's fixed what he has from the stretch. I'm not going to say, hey, welcome to the bullpen, and by the way, here's 2 runners on, nobody out. Get out of this.
Yeah, you can't trust him at that point right now. Maybe next year, if that comes to fruition again, sure. But this year, you can't trust him in that regard. And then also, another reason why I wanted to bring it up was, say Luzardo or Nola are pitching and they don't pitch well. Then you got to go start to stress some of those bullpen arms a little bit earlier. And in theory, what you wanted out of this bullpen was you pitch the 7th, 8th, 9th. You have that in order. If you need to pitch a 6th and someone comes in, Tanner Banks is great. David Robertson, based off of who's available that day, is great too. Or good, maybe not great. But
I'm a big David Robertson
I know.
guy. So,
but I know there's people out there that are not.
and to those people, I don't know what you're watching. Thank you, by the way, John Kincade, for your shout out on Twitter on Saturday night. I appreciate someone realized the good work I put in getting David Robertson's side. I look at it as a pyramid of trust. The point starts with Duran. It goes down to Kerkering Strom. It continues to extend then to Banks, Robertson, and if Luzardo slots in there, Luzardo. If not, then the pyramid kind of shifts and it's just a little bit thinner, and then it breaks out to like 4 guys sitting there at the bottom. 3 or 4 guys, whatever it ends up being numbers-wise there at the bottom. Probably 3. So it's like a 1, 2, 2, 3. If Luzardo, I'd slot Luzardo up 2, but Banks would be the left-hander in a stressful situation. Robertson would be a right-hander that could go any situation, and Luzardo would be the left-hander in a clean situation. And then from that point on, under there is Romano, Ross,
Whoever's left.
Nola. Nola ends up in the postseason bullpen, which, again, I don't see that happening. Walker. That would be who's left. They tried the Walker thing. They Taiwan as a bullpen arm is just kind of cleaning stuff up for you, which is tough because he's had a good season. But it's kind of how it goes. All right, I appreciate it. Good Robin report here. Liking the Robin report. Good start to the segment. It wasn't anything about Notre Dame logos, so I appreciate that.
It won't be either.
I want to, coming up, we got at 125, we have Jeff Mosher. But before that, how much stock do you put in a team struggling at a specific venue? And how long do they have to struggle at that venue before it bothers you? Because I've mentioned a few times, I just want to see the Phillies win at Citi Field. We haven't gotten to the point where it's a concerning trend, but we've seen those across sports, and I'm curious for people if they have yet to put any stock into the Phillies at Citi Field and how much they actually care about that. He's Sean Rodman. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The summer's here.
Welcome back into the midday show. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through with a 1 o'clock hour here. Coming up at 2, it's Unfiltered. Get a little worried. Seen Bill pop his, stop in, run around. I haven't really been out of this studio. I've just been kind of sitting here, but I get worried. Usually makes himself seen. He likes to let everyone know that he's here at 11 o'clock.
Especially after the road trip comments, I was expecting him to walk in.
Yeah, which I got someone that was like, you could get this financed. It's only a 9-stop road trip spanning 2 weeks, multiple baseball games, plenty of hotels. I'm sure we could get it covered. If you missed it, the Phillies are doing the Field of Dreams game next August. Tomorrow, baseball drops their schedule, which I am, again, tremendously excited for because I like to plan out my summer. I'm a sicko in that case, okay? I look at these leagues putting out their schedules, and I'm trying to plan out my life 12 months ahead. It's just who I am. I will be upset when the Phillies have a good road trip that comes in September because I know where I'll be. I'll be here. I'll be doing football season. I want the good road trips to fall somewhere between May and really the end of July. That's the sweet spot for me. But this game is in August, the game in Iowa. I put together a list of cities you can attack from here to Iowa and back to try and hit as many ballparks as possible. Start at Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, get yourself to Iowa, work your way back, St. Louis, Cincinnati, D.C., and Baltimore. Now, I'm not going to tell the bosses here that I've already been to the ballparks in Pittsburgh, D.C., and Baltimore, and probably Chicago, because let's be honest, I'm going to a Cubs game. I'm going to Wrigleyville. I'm not going to the White Sox. I think we can all establish that. But a road trip that I am now looking for funding for is what I'm saying. If you want to be the person that brings this to life, you let me know. 610-632-0975. And we're also looking at who I would go with at the station, and we were not really encouraged by the early returns of finding someone to partake in this road trip with me across America. At least to Iowa. Rodman was shot down immediately.
Yeah. I understand.
Without me being here, the station kind of needs you. You kind of have to step up. You are basically their Ray Dunn replacement. That's
what we're going with now.
That's essentially
not that we're no longer together on Sundays. So now you're just kind of hurt by that. Trying to come up with a better excuse for the people.
I'm just saying, they have built you to be the Ray Dunn replacement. That's what it is. So if I'm not here for the betterment of the station, you kind of have to be. That's kind of the way this rolls. Maybe someday we're gonna look at a picture of the two of us, and it's gonna be I'm Wentz, and you're Jalen, and that's just the way it is. You were drafted to take me out.
Yeah, we're okay. Whatever you say there.
Speaking of quarterbacks that were drafted, Kyle McCord released by the Eagles, according to Jordan Schultz. So that looked like it was coming. As soon as they made that Sam Howell deal, that is now official. And it has been done. So I assume they'll try and get back on the practice squad. And I don't know why he wouldn't want to come back for that. But maybe they see other spots to fit in that 16. But I would assume that would make sense. We mentioned this going into the break. Something that just bothers me about this 3-game set with the Mets. Citi Field, they've lost 8 of their last 9 there. They got swept up there at the beginning of the season. They lost 2 postseason games there last October. It's not a massive sample size. However, in losing those games there, you start to get a little bit of a feel. You start to get a little, all right, just kind of let's get rid of whatever demons exist up there. Let's try and find a way. How much does it bother you, Sean Rodman, when we talk about some of these venues that they don't play well in? Like the Phillies, for example, San Francisco, House of Horrors. They just don't play well there. I think it has to do with the fact that they have not had historically good outfielders over the last 15 years. They have not had a consistent outfield, and that outfield is a very tough outfield to play. So I think that has hurt them there, but they haven't found a way to succeed in San Francisco. The Eagles in Seattle. When they had Seattle that Monday night, I told everyone 2023, W's and L's, leading into the season. There's one game I guarantee you they will lose. It will be in Seattle. They do not win in Seattle. How much do you really care about the struggles in a venue?
I would say it varies. It depends on the group right now and their history there. Like this Phillies team, it's less so of the venue, I think, and more so of psychologically being there and against the Mets. Like, they have not performed particularly well against the Mets in general, and especially at Citi Field. So I think it's like this core right now, like that's their problem. If this core were to become a different core in 10 years from now, I'm not going to use that against them 10 years from now. If it's the Eagles going on a West Coast trip to Seattle, yeah, maybe.
No, they're going to lose.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Guarantee.
They're probably going to lose. The Phillies with the Giants, just because of how bad their outfield defensively has been for I don't know how many years now. Yeah, sure. I'm going to use that against them in that. But if we go back a couple weeks to the Texas Rangers, just not having won a game since, 2013 or whatever. It was only 3 series, though. So because of interleague play, it's not like that type of thing is different. I'm not going to use that history against them, against a Rangers team that was mediocre at the time and clearly not a playoff team anymore. I would say it varies case to case.
Okay, so you're trying to place context on it. I just
Yes.
need to see them take care of business up at Citi Field. That's the thing that's going to drive me nuts. They don't.
For this season, yeah, you need to see them take care of business.
but just in general, like I kind of need to see this group kind of like tonight.
It's like it's a psychological thing for this core.
Maybe Turner doing something for me because Turner had a tough series against Harper doing something because he had a tough series up there early in the year. Like someone, let's get rid of the demons up there for him. All right, coming up, we're going to get into some Eagles conversation with the one and only Jeff Mosher. Silvano, relax. All right, TV star trying to get in there. He's got an update to do. You still got like 2 minutes before you get in that studio. We got Jeff Mosher, Inside the Birds, Philly Voice, to break down everything going on with the Eagles roster cut-down day tomorrow. Should we expect anything more? We'll talk to Jeff Mosher coming up next. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Birds make a flurry of deals. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. The Birds trade for quarterback Sam Howell and a 6th-round pick for a 5th and a 7th. And then they've also traded for Fred Johnson, who was with the Eagles last season, in exchange for a 7th-round pick with the Jaguars. The Eagles also are sending offensive lineman Darian Kinnard to the Green Bay Packers for a future 6th-round pick. The Eagles have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. to dwindle their roster down to 53, and a couple guys have already been cut. We know E.J. Jenkins, Kyle McCord, to name a few as well. And according to The Athletic's Matt Gelb, the Phillies and Twins will be playing in MLB's Field of Dreams game in August next season in Iowa. The schedule for the 2026 MLB season should be released tomorrow. Phillies hold a 7-game lead over the division, in the division over the Mets. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for the Phillies against the Mets tonight, and Kodai Senga for the Mets as well. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10. This update is sponsored by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with rom-coms, romnesties, and the really steamy stuff. Listen free with a 30-day trial at audible.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Back into the midday show, working our way through the 1 o'clock hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, Sean Rodman producing the show, and now a chance to talk to one of my favorites, someone that when I got my start here, that was who I was running board for every Monday night. Enjoy every chance I get to listen to him talk about the Birds and read him on Inside the Birds and Philly Voice. That is the one and only Jeff Mosher. Join us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Jeff, how are you today?
Hey, Ray, what's going on, man? I appreciate the reunion. Hope you're doing well.
It's great. It's great. I always enjoy producing for you and getting a chance to hear everything you had going on with the Birds. Excited I get to read you two places now. And I was reading you earlier. I'm going to get to what you wrote about grading out Howie Roseman's offseason. But I want to start from you. When you look at training camp and look at preseasons, we put a bow on all that. What was your biggest takeaway from what you saw? It's a loaded question. There's a lot there. But over this last month of football.
Oh, man, one takeaway from a month of football, Ray.
That's a lot for you.
Me on the spot here. My takeaway is that, you watch the Eagles in camp. You don't get to see the starters, obviously, a lot in preseason, but there's really no doubt that they have a ton of top-end talent. The reason this team has won the Super Bowl twice and been to 3 is they've also had really good depth. I think this camp and preseason, I just wonder if they're as deep in some areas, offensive line, edge, cornerback opposite Quinyon Mitchell, right? Mm-hmm. If the depth is up to speed, because every other team has been chasing the Eagles this offseason. Injuries are going to happen. We know that. And as you were alluding to the article I wrote last year, hitting on Mekhi Becton, Zach Bond were really big deals for the Eagles and helped them avoid some of the misses, right? Like Bryce Huff, for example. So I guess my question would be are the Eagles deep enough with everybody coming at them this year to do it again? There's not a question for me about their top-end talent and how they match up pound for pound with their best players versus other teams' best players.
And you mentioned it right there, talking about the depth. And I was, of course, alluding to the story you wrote, basically looking back on Howie Roseman's offseason. And there was a line in there that compares it to 2023. Now, you do qualify it with the fact they are much younger and more talented going into that season than they were in 23. But when you look back at grading out what Howie Roseman did this offseason, how do you stand with a grade now on the doorstep of the start of the season?
Yeah, some of that's to be determined. I think that this class of additions, and there are a lot. As I'm writing the story, I couldn't believe how many guys were on one-year deals that I wrote about, even and some of the guys they traded for. But I think the class can be made or broken by the success of the edge rushers, and I'm really talking about Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. If those guys are very competent rotational edge pieces and form a good four-man rotation with Jalix Hunt and with Nolan Smith, and I have a little concerns about them right now myself, but if those come to form, then that pass rush should be pretty good and ease any concern about the other cornerback spot. So that to me is the biggest sort of takeaway from all the 1 year and all the free agent and trade acquisitions. Obviously, if Jacorian Bennett can win that, eventually become the starter, I think it's going to be Adoree Jackson to begin with. But if Jacorian Bennett can become a starter and just play at an adequate level, not Pro Bowl level, be pretty good, I think that would help as well. But it is somewhat like the 2023 class in that there's just a ton of 1 year guys. I think a couple of them are going to be disappointing. I mean, already Kenyon Green was cut. He was the trade acquisition. Kendall Lamb did not work out. He was thought to be maybe the swing tackle, but he was coming off back surgery, and maybe Howie didn't account for his age and a back surgery, and having that guy be able to hold up as your swing tackle, which is an important position. That's why they had to go out and get Fred Johnson. But like I mentioned in the story, the difference was those guys in 2023, whether it was Terrell Edmonds or Justin Evans, Greedy Williams, who didn't even make the 53, they were kind of signed to either be really to starters or key contributors, and they're missing on those guys really hurt that defense last year and hurt that team overall. Whereas this year, the Eagles, I think, can withstand. They didn't need these mercenaries, so to speak, as much, but they need depth, and we'll see how that works.
The beautiful thing about winning the Super Bowl is those names feel so far away, yet only being 2 years since they were here as Eagles. And you mentioned some of the moves they've made to kind of address what they already see as the early mistakes, whether it be bringing back a Fred Johnson, whether it be going out and get Jacorian Bennett. How much more moves from the outside do you get the read? Do you anticipate them making ahead of roster cutdown day tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I've already talked to some teams around the league. I get a pretty good idea of what the Eagles are looking at, how he's making calls. He always does. Wouldn't surprise me if there was some edge depth movement. I thought that there would be some movement on the offensive line, and obviously Fred Johnson's back. Maybe even on the interior offensive line, where right now your next man up, I'm going to say it's Matt Pryor. I mean, obviously we're waiting to see what happens with Brett Toth. I have a hard time believing he'd be the next man up at either left or right guard if Dickerson can't play or if Steen gets hurt. I think it will be Matt Pryor because he has more experience at a decent camp, decent enough to what I think is land on that 53. We'll see what happens here. But that would be the areas. And if there's a corner out there, a starting caliber corner to get who's available, sort of like the way C.J. Gardner-Johnson became available to the Eagles a couple of years ago when the Saints and he couldn't reach an agreement. If there is that kind of corner, Howie's got a lot of draft picks still, and he can use that to really shore up the position if he wants to. But like I mentioned with edge, and same thing with corner, teams aren't really, chomping at the bit to give them away, and especially not to the Eagles. So it's going to be hard work for Howie in that department.
We're talking to Jeff Mosher here of Inside the Birds and PhillyVoice.com. And Jeff, in talking with our guy Andrew DeCecco, your guy Andrew DeCecco, that cornerback position, he seems to believe, hey, Dory Jackson's got it week 1, but it's only a matter of time until it's Jacorian Bennett's job. Is that the read you're getting as well when we're talking about the corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell for this team?
Yeah, and some of that is just because if you listen to Vic Fangio's press conferences all summer long, not exactly have a lot of praiseworthy words for any of his corners. I mean, how often do you hear of a 9-year vet like a Dory Jackson? How often do you hear the defensive coordinator say that, we're waiting to find out what he is and isn't, or he had a preseason, after the first preseason game, it's a chance for him to learn and grow. I mean, learn and grow at 30 years old. It's not something you ordinarily hear. So the whole idea of Jacorian Bennett starting is because sort of de facto or lack of a better answer, but his defense isn't very easy to learn. Right off the bat, I think Jacorian probably, needs a few more reps and some time. And I think that because he's such a good athlete, Jacorian Bennett, and played well in some stretches for the Raiders last year, the assumption is that Vic will grow tired, like last year of Avonte Maddox in the slot. He'll grow tired of Dory Jackson starting for a few weeks and then get Bennett in there when he feels he's ready. But I don't want to stamp that as an automatic. I think that's sort of we saw this last year, so it'll happen this year. I don't know enough about Jacorian Bennett, whereas last year you just knew that if Cooper DeJean was healthy and had a few weeks of getting familiar with the defense, he was probably going to get in there because he was such a good athlete and a high draft pick. So I think the jury's a little bit out on Jacorian Bennett, and he'll have to play well. They'll probably try to get him into the games at some point, even if Dory Jackson is the starter. But he'll have to play well and show that he deserves to be the starter there.
And moving into that secondary towards the safety position, Drew Makuba's availability has been more than concerned with getting banged up a couple of times. But what do you see as the plan at safety alongside Reed Blankenship at this point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just like you mentioned, the health is a big factor. I do believe if he's healthy and ready to play, you're going to see him playing the majority of the snaps next to Reed Blankenship. But I think one thing that we're maybe not taking into account, and also with outside corner here, by the way, is the fact that Cooper DeJean was playing both of those spots in base defense during camp. So Vic has some options here, and if he's not happy with any one spot and he thinks he can replace it with another good player somewhere else, he can move Cooper DeJean around, or he can just have, I mean, I've sensed that he wants Cooper DeJean to be his nickel, his nickel back, his slot corner this year, but it doesn't mean Cooper can't spend those base snaps that he used to be off the field on the field at either safety or outside corner, depending on what Vic is seeing and what he likes. But as long as I think Sidney Brown did enough to make the team, and he's a good special teams player, and I would imagine that Vic at this point feels that if you had to play Sidney Brown next to Reed Blankenship, that he can get away with it. But, there's a reason they drafted Drew Makuba. They like his versatility. He obviously showed he makes plays when he's in the preseason game. Just got to stay healthy, and I think if he's healthy, he'll be getting more of those reps in there.
All right, last one for you here, Jeff, and I'll take you to the offense because that wide receiver room is just intriguing in the sense of you have the Camp Darling and Darius Cooper. You've got John Mechie, who they make the trade for. And Anais Smith has obviously been someone, when we talk about Cooper DeJean in ways they don't want to use Cooper DeJean, it does not seem like Vic Fangio would like Cooper DeJean to return punts. And Anais Smith seems like your most likely punt returner. Now, he did get absolutely crushed on his first punt return Friday night. I think he forgot he could call a fair catch there for half a second. But when you look at what they're going to do at that wide receiver room, what do you believe? Are they going to go 5? Are they going 6? And who ends up on the outside looking in?
Well, I tell you what, I kept 6 when I did my own 53-man roster projection that me and Adam Kaplan and Andrew DeCecco did on the podcast that dropped this morning, the Inside the Birds podcast. And I kind of put a sleeper in there. And sometimes guys make the 53, and not because they deserve it, but because the coaching staff had a plan for it, that person. So I had Avery Williams actually make it over Anais Smith. And there's no actual merit reason for that. But the only thing that really sticks out to me is that back in the owners' meetings, when Nick Sirianni first had his chance to talk about free agents, he raved and gushed about Avery Williams. And then in OTAs, Avery had an undisclosed injury and really didn't practice. And then in training camp, he was invisible. But he was invisible from the start. Like, they never even gave him a shot to be like the first-team punt returner or second-team wide receiver, nothing, or corner. I mean, he's played all these different running back, cornerback. He's sort of this multi-dimensional guy. Now, I can understand if you give a guy a shot, he doesn't perform well, and you lower him down the chain, but he never even had the opportunity, and I can't help but think that was intentional. So I could be completely misreading it. I could be completely off. The guy has returned a lot of punts in his career, so he can do it. But sometimes you give other people more opportunities to see, because you know what one person can do, and you're trying to see what the others can do, and maybe that was the case with Anais. So I get it. It probably comes down to one or the other. I'm probably going to be wrong, and Avery Williams will be off and Anais will be on, or they just look somewhere else for the punt return. Cooper can do it, even though Vic Fangio hates it. But I did have 6. I had your top 3 of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dotson. I kept Mechie 4, Darius Cooper 5, and I went with Avery Williams as a 6 over Anais.
Ooh, I like the outside-the-box thinking on this one. Now I said that was the last one, but now you got me thinking, is there any more surprises up your sleeve and what you think of the 53 of the guys that are here?
Surprise? No, that would probably definitely be the biggest one. I know I'm sure a lot of different beats have either McCord on it or getting released and trying to come back on, or waived, trying to come back on the practice squad. I kept them on mine with 4 quarterbacks because I don't see how we.
We actually got, I think Jordan Schultz was reporting that he has been officially released. So I think we might have had.
All right, well, you credit that.
Yeah. Listen, I'm following along today.
Yeah. No, that would have been probably that. I did have the pass rusher who they drafted who really didn't do anything until the last round, Antoine Powell, and making it because he's a draft pick, but maybe that won't happen either. No, the offensive line and edge. That's the area that we might be surprised only because a move could be coming in the next 24 to 48 hours that would change the landscape the kind of way it did with the Kincade trade and the trade for Fred Johnson.
I love the sound of that. You know what I do every day for 4 hours. A trade is just right up the wheelhouse for us here. Jeff, always great talking with you. Always appreciate catching up.
Always fun, Ray. Thanks for having me on.
Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and PhillyVoice.com. Always love talking birds with Jeff. I like the sound of that, Sean Rodman. A move coming down the line here?
Let's see.
Offensive line or edge? We're not. If a starting corner comes available, but the way Jeff said it doesn't really happen that way. I don't know how many teams with a starting corner is like, yeah, go ahead, Eagles, you take him. Edge rusher? Who could be out there for the Birds. Coming up, we'll put a wrap on the show. Phillies Mets tonight. Looking at what's going on at Citi Field this evening. Good matchup on the mounds. Who's going to be in the outfield? What do we see going to happen there? He's Sean Rodman. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Join the Fanatic.
Welcome back into the Midday Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate Jeff Mosher for joining the program from Inside the Birds and Philly Voice. Want to let you know our Fanatic deal of the week. Get a $50 gift card to the Jug Handle Inn for just $25. Enjoy their famous wings, burgers, drink specials, live music, and more at the Jug Handle in Cinnamon. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Got to get over to the Jersey side of things. That's got to be something for me coming up. I've just recently made myself familiar with the Jersey side of things here, so I gotta get over there a little bit more often. Check out the Jug Handle Inn. Look forward to the $50 gift card, $25. Maybe I'll just go raid the promotions office and go try and get one of them for myself. Go check it out. But getting back to tonight, Phillies and Mets, 7:10, 5 minutes off of a proper ball game start time. For those that have been, I guess, aware of my brigade against when we start ball games, one here in Philadelphia, 6:40, 6:45, too early. You can't get 7:05 is when a game should start. That's the proper start to a baseball game. An evening baseball game, a weeknight baseball game, 7:05. The Mets start a little bit too late. 7:10 is just slightly too late. You want the perfect 7:05 start time. And especially now with the pitch clock, it doesn't matter because it's not going very late into the night. We don't need this early start time to get the kids that are in school home earlier. Maybe now you could convince me with the septic cuts and all the people that are going to be driving to the game. Maybe now the 6:45 timeline I could get behind, but probably not. I'm probably still going to tell you 7:05. Just the proper time. It gives you enough time before the game, and you're not getting home late enough. It's just the right time to start a ball game. So the Mets start just 5 minutes too late. The other game up in New York tonight, the Yankees, they start at the proper time at 7:05. But that is the proper time for a ball game. I know Sean Rodman agrees with me. 7:05 is the proper first pitch time.
Yeah, 7:05 is the perfect first pitch time. This way you've time to get there. There's no worry about traffic, and we haven't even touched about this yet, right?
Especially, I had this down. I didn't get into it, but yeah, I was curious to see how people were impacted yesterday. I don't think we're really gonna feel it until you get to that first Eagles game.
I agree. We're not going to necessarily
because again, the cuts at 9 o'clock don't go in effect until the beginning of the year. I believe January 1st is when things stop after 9 o'clock, which would be really, really devastating to the sports complex.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I saw a Inquirer story covering people that were driving down. I'll just say for me, if the septic cuts are to take hold, and like they've obviously taken effect as of today. So for the people that were or yesterday, so the people that have been impacted today, whether it be going to school, all those things, I feel for you. I personally would like to see them get funded, and public transportation is a very important thing. So I'm only talking about the sports impact on this, the livelihood impact for people, the traffic you probably sat through today, uncertainty of how you're getting to work, all those things. It's horrible. I'm again Sports Talk Radio talking about the sports impact of this. People like me who are in the city, this is how I go to games. I don't drive. I take public transit. That's also, you don't want all the people like me in the city to drive because the traffic you already sit in is only going to get worse. So very important to get this funded for the traffic flow down there, on top of the many other reasons why it's very important for this to get funded for the people that their lives depend on this and their livelihoods depend on this. So hoping that they get funded because I think that we will see it Thursday because I believe Thursday night afterwards they're going to go from like 9 to 10 trains post-game Eagles to like 4. And you just think about all of the people that 6 trains could hold going north from South Philadelphia versus whatever regional rail they be going out to. Not great.
No, not great. It's a lot of trains, too, especially, like, I've left Eagles games before, and it's a mass exodus to try to get on a train. You try to rush to kind of squeeze on one so you're not waiting there forever.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done the exact post-Eagles game because I've either done the Xfinity stop-in or the post-tailgate thing. Like, I've never been one to, like, just try and mass exit right out of the way for an Eagles game specifically. For Phillies, obviously, I do it all the time. And I'm not looking forward to what this is going to entail. So hopefully they get that all figured out and funded. But for the Phillies-Mets tonight up at Citi Field, Sanchez, Senga, this is a great pitching matchup. I know with Senga and like the way things have gone, I guess for him as of late, the last start, allowing 4 earned in 5 innings, his August has not necessarily been reflective of what his entire season has been. Very excited to see how the Phillies play against him just because of the way he pitches, how deceptive he can be. If their chase is there, obviously you want to start tonight out with a victory, get yourself in set to take 2 of 3. Christopher Sanchez being on the mound, this is also a nice test for him. Game 1 of a series, of playoff-like feel series. Hey, you have game 1 here. Go be the difference. Set the difference. This is a nice test of that. I'm excited to see that tonight. Again, I'm going up Wednesday So they're going to win tonight and tomorrow night, and then they will lose Wednesday night. That's just the way I think this is. I just have this feeling that that's the way the series is going to go. That I'm going to come back on the airwaves.
You can have more of a positive outlook. If you're going to in with this mindset, it's what's going to happen.
I don't know if I can really manifest things like that. I'm not exactly that gifted in this. I don't think I have that type of power here. But the Phillies lineup, historically, against Kodai Senga. Just looking down the line here. There is not a lot of success. Harper's the only one. 1 for 2 with 2 walks and an RBI. Outside of that, it's a whole lot of disgustingness. A 122 average with a 189 on base and a 204 slug in 49 at-bats. 17 strikeouts. Tonight would be a nice night for them to be able to break through what has really been a struggle against Kodai Senga.
It'd be another nice night for, in case that doesn't happen, Christopher Sanchez to have a good.
Yeah, but you still need to score one run.
Yeah, you need to score.
You need a run to come across in that game.
I'm not saying they can't. Oh no, if they don't score, it's fine. They'll get to the bullpen. No, because we know that their bullpen's not been great, but it would be that it would happen to the Phillies where that's where the Mets would turn around.
All right, and one thing I have to address here because I see this in the YouTube chat. People are saying he walked 17 blocks. We did a whole bit back in the day. Mike asked a question of whether or not it was right to not pay for parking and force a date to walk to a Phillies game from, like, South Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess 17 blocks was the arbitrarily thing that's thrown out. I said, yes, I would do it. I'm that cheap, 100%. When I go to games, I take SEPTA. That was a hypothetical situation. I don't drive. When I do drive, the very few times, I do park like 17 blocks from the ballpark and walk the entire thing. And anyone that goes to a game with me that's getting a ride from me would be expected to go to 17 blocks. But I usually take SEPTA. The YouTube chat's misrepresenting me here. I don't appreciate that. But yes, I stand by that take forever. That I will 100%.
There's games I do the long walk.
Yeah, I do the long walk, and if you're getting a ride from me, you're gonna take the walk with me.
I'll walk with you.
Yeah. All right. Not you.
All right, fine.
We're not going. All right. Come up next, Unfiltered. Bill Colarulo, Ricky Metallico, Silvana Keller. I will be back tomorrow. Sean Rodman as well. Look forward to that. Hang out with us here on Middays. I'm Ray Dunn. Talk to you again real soon right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.